A Happiness Guide 2. Chapter 1. A Happiness Guide. I have to release my energy. A noble, great spiritual aesthetic life is a life where you feel full of infinite possibilities and live it out. It's hard to stay inspired all the time. You have to discover your true nature, then make a pact with yourself that your life will be nothing more than honoring who you were born to be by nature by releasing that inspired aesthetic spiritual loving energy every day with gusto and passion for the process. But there will be tragedies and hard times. People and pets you love will die. Some will get sick. You will get sick or injured. There might be other hardships like money problems, relationship problems, having a child with a disability, having a child rebel against you, etc. I've gone through some of these trials where I felt like I was dead man walking. Despite how strong, vital, and inspired I was for many years, I felt like all of it meant nothing because all you ever have is one moment in time, right now. All the great energy you might have had in the past doesn't mean anything anymore. I lived a fun, easy life until some tragedies hit. Then I felt shell-shocked, like all of a sudden I realized that life is hard for a lot of people. Millions of people have disabilities, problems, or they're just old, tired, worn out and limited in scope. I eventually had to realize this is my life. I have to keep moving, trying to create joy, a sense of peace and righteousness, otherwise I would feel like death with a deep emptiness inside of me. If you can do something to help others or show gratitude for them being kind to you when you're down, that's good. You can fill the emptiness by being a light to people who need you more than you need your self-pity. The human race exists on a continuum between good and evil. You have to believe that the good side will win out and we will live in a better world. I created the idea of true democracy because I believe we have to get rid of elected politicians to make decisions ourselves over the internet. I think politicians and the elitist shadow governments run our societies and squander the money that can be used to help people live better lives. A great, noble spirit has to get over everything because in the end it's all you got, just your pact with God to honor the spirit He created you to be. You must keep moving with it with love for yourself and love for humanity. If you don't, you become a wreck of humanity and it's your fault for withering away, sitting around wasting your life, eating junk, watching useless stuff on TV among the other meaningless pursuits, which is how most lost souls end up living empty lives. There has to be something you do out of love for life. It doesn't matter what it is. You must release your natural energy with the sense that you're honoring your Creator in a way that you are making Him proud of you through what you do day after day. If you don't live like this, your life is really nowhere, regardless of what illusions and delusions you live under, like all them frivolous hotshots I see around, thinking they're trendy and cool. It doesn't matter. Your only accountability is to your soul, the divine spirit your God endowed you with. Live by it and you're fine. Don't live by it, your life is a mess. I know a guy who won several $1 million in a lottery. His life is nowhere. He sleeps half the day. He's about 25 pounds overweight, he drinks a lot of alcohol and he has no drive except to go fishing. I don't say anything about what I think. I know him because we've been superficial friends since we were kids. He never entertains a thought of doing something with passion or intensity. That's why he's a lost soul. His money will never give him a strong, solid, inner feeling. Lots of young people have the arrogance of youth, thinking they are powerful and unstoppable, but see them at middle age. That's the real test. What do you do when you're not the cock of the walk anymore? How do beautiful women live when men don't look at them anymore with a sense of attraction? How do men live when they know they ain't the toughest guy in the room anymore? Be the kindest and the wisest. I have a lot of energy. I can't stay still. If I do, I start to feel like I'm withering away. I don't want to repeat myself writing the same thing over and over. I wrote this stuff out over the years whenever I felt inspired. I felt I should put it out there because it can have some positive value to someone. The only rule of life is to release most of the natural energy anyone feels inside of themselves with love for the process, doing some hedonistic things but also doing things to help others and the planet in some way. This is how you get to feel good, by doing things that connect you with the God-given power inside of you and with life around you, mainly people and pets, but also by connecting with being alive itself. Like when I'm out in nature, I get those good feelings that I'm thankful for being here, reasonably healthy, free, living a pretty good life. I used to be young, strong, and vital, but now as I age, I realize I'm just an ordinary mortal guy with a deteriorating body. Everybody has a sense of existential loneliness that nobody wants to talk about. Why is Citizen Kane still considered the greatest movie of all time? It's because the kid who became a big shot tycoon wants only one thing: to desperately feel that unconditional pure motherly love that he had as a kid. I believe this craving for love is inside all of us. We bury it away. We grow up. Our mothers get sick and die. Some of us find a great soulmate. Most of us don't. We find an average love, but I talk about that in my love book, not here. Everybody has cynical moments and dark nights of the soul. At the end, you realize you have only two choices: keep trying to be a part of life or wither away. That's why all anyone owns is spirit. You either accept the spirit God gave you and pledge to do something good with it continuously until you die, or you got nothing really. Everybody stands alone. At any moment, can you be inspired, keep going strong? Is there a nobility inside of you that makes you worthy of your Creator? You intuitively know. Dying is a part of living. Death is painful. Accept aging and death among your intimates and face it bravely when it happens to you. Nobody can say for sure whether there is an afterlife, but I'll still be noble about this life. I won't feel sorry for myself when I age. I'll accept it and do the best with whatever I have. That's all anyone can do. Everyone will die. If you die of old age, you beat the odds. Many people don't make it that far. The best way anyone can possibly live one. The biggest problem with human beings is not lack of money or love. You're like a bird with a broken wing. You have a song but do not sing. The best way anyone can possibly live is by their own natural purity, by your own true nature, but most of us can't because we have to live in the capitalist world to earn money to pay our bills, which saps our natural free spirits until we end up shells of the natural inspired kids we were at one time. We sell our souls to the artificial values of the system. You're not doing what you want to do because you lack courage. You're probably working a crappy job for the money or being a lazy couch potato, not doing much of anything besides watching a screen, eating junk food or doing frivolous stuff. Our model for helping people with personal problems is it to get students to study psychology at college and tell them they have a system for understanding human behavior where they put people into categories, give them drugs and probe their pasts in endless therapy sessions. These college students then become our experts to supposedly help people. Psychology and mental health are capitalist industries geared for profit and growth. Their ultimate big idea is to fool people into thinking they have a mental illness and need their services. Plenty of wimps line up because they do not want to take responsibility for their lives the way their God created them to be, living their lives freely away from everyone else's lies. This is the brainwashed elitism we live under. Most of us are sheep buying into this fraud. I got no problem with the early guys who wrote essays off the tops of their heads trying to help people, like Benjamin Franklin with his 13 virtues, which are 1. Temperance, 2. Silence, 3. Order, 4. Resolution, 5. Frugality, 6. Industry, 7. Sincerity, 8. Justice, 9. Moderation, 10. Cleanliness, 11. Tranquility, 12. Chastity, 13. Humility. You can go on YouTube and listen to one of the first self-help books from 1905. The Science of Getting Rich audiobook by Wallace D. Wattles. Add Dante Alighieri's 7 Deadly Sins from the Divine Comedy and you pretty well got all the common sense you need. Pride, lust, gluttony, greed, sloth/laziness, anger, jealousy. All the wisdom you need is in our biblical books of Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, but people think they're old. All the crap written since then about life still does not hold a candle next to the wisdom in these two books, except for my insight, which is that I'm a loner with a true nature. Screw the world with its bullshit. I have to earn a living but won't sell my soul to any bullshit in the world. Our idiots had to make a science out of life and created businesses in all the social science departments in all the 9,600 four-year colleges and universities in the world. They say whatever any individual thinks is irrelevant. You have to be able to measure it, so now the APA, American Psychological Association, has got 56 subcategories and there are at least 1,000 psychology academic journals in existence, and it's all 100% bullshit because nobody knows what's going on in the mind of another human being, and nobody should be so arrogant as to think they do unless somebody comes to you looking for help. Then talk one-on-one as a loving friend, not a phony clinical or educational psychologist trying to put them into some category you learned from some BS place. Don't use their bullshit theories because they're meaningless. Don't use their categories in the DSM, Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, because they are no real mental illnesses. Whatever problem any individual has is their own unique problem in the unique situation they're living in. Having a group of several one-size-fits-all mental illnesses is the supermarket approach to helping someone with a generic formula. A true helper tries to understand his friend and offers thoughtful ideas and advice. A lot of people line up to be diagnosed with a fictitious mental illness because they're wimps. They do not want to face themselves head-on. The best way anyone can possibly live to life is right now. That's it. You create yourself by the way you live right now. It's always the same thing. You're either inspired, active and happy, mundane and average, scared and negative. Before I majored in psychology at college, I was a brainwashed boob like most people, thinking that people with titles like psychiatrist, psychologist, psychotherapist, etc. had some advanced, authoritative, scientific insight into human life. I studied the whole thing and saw they had three big unrelated theories. Psychoanalysis, your past determines you now. Behaviorism, you're an empty slate living by the rewards and punishments of your environment. Humanism, flowery bullshit about being a noble human being trying to reach your potential. I don't give a crap about my past. I don't give a crap about my environment/society except to earn enough money to do my own thing. Where are the noble human beings? Many people are slobs addicted to something, be it food, porn, or drugs and alcohol. Many people work mundane jobs then chase them away with as many frivolous pursuits as possible. Watching TV is still king, although video games come a close second. I realized that this social science stuff is a load of crap with a bunch of unrelated one-liner advice and no simple big insight into life. I discovered my simple big insight into life on my own. I first unloaded all my early brainwashing into thinking that people called life experts, psychologists, psychiatrists, etc. had authoritative knowledge in life. I was brought up on old science fiction horror movies which routinely used psychiatrists as characters, like Spellbound, 1945, and Marcus Welby MD, a 1960s TV show where Dr. Welby recommended some of his patients go see a psychiatrist or a psychologist. This use of these experts implanted an idea into me as a kid that any boob called a psychiatrist or psychologist had some advanced insight into human life, but as an adult I realized all that anyone does who studies this stuff is take a bunch of unrelated courses that all together amount to no true insight into life. It's just a bunch of meaningless unrelated junk, but they can't admit it to themselves because to do this would make them admit they're living a lie, deny them of their cash cow and the status that goes along with the job titles of psychiatrist and psychologist. It's one of the massive lies of the modern world. Most people buy into the lie that there is a science of human behavior called psychology, or the entire social sciences for that matter, that has insight into life. Their power is the same as the power that a witch doctor, a shaman, a pharaoh, or a sorcerer had in the past, the same power that the Wizard of Oz had, an illusion that they have some kind of mystical, divine advanced knowledge and are smarter than everyone else. Most people do not bother to study all this stuff like I did. Most people are massively brainwashed by this idea that the fields of psychology and psychiatry are legitimate fields of advanced knowledge about life. Anyone who calls themselves a psychologist or psychiatrist and pretends to know deep, advanced stuff about life is a liar and a scam artist. Every individual is a loner with their own reality. Most people get brainwashed by the world and follow its artificial values to some extent. The only enlightened people realize they have a true nature given by God at birth. Their only purpose in life is to know this true nature, then have the courage to live by it by releasing the natural energy they feel within themselves most days when they get up, barring a few rest days here and there. Beyond that, no one knows what anyone else is thinking, and no one will until we evolve to telepathy. So stop being a busybody trying to figure other people out, trying to know what they're thinking. If you think you know and press them on it, most will never admit to anything because they got egos. Everybody is protecting themselves. Some are playing one-upmanship games with others, but no one will ever admit to it, so I don't try to analyze people. I just try to be straight, polite, and friendly and leave it at that. That's it. Many people have studied ancient history, the paranormal and religion looking for the answers to the deepest questions of life. At the end of the day, we got several thousand people who claim to have had near-death experiences, we got some people who claim to have been possessed by demons and were exorcised, and we got some strange events that could have been faked or true. I saw a video of scratches appearing on a guy's body in real time claiming he was possessed. Many of us want a supernatural afterlife, but all I know for sure is to live bravely and die bravely. According to the Penn and Teller Showtime TV show Bullshit, Gandhi and Mother Teresa were selfish fakes. The Dalai Lama presents himself as a smiling, happy guy, but within the Buddhist culture, monks are the elitists at the top, living lives of luxury while everyone else worship them and gives them money. You can't righteously put people into categories, but the psychobabble industry does, and most people buy into it because they're brainwashed wimp victims. Many people want to be diagnosed with a mental illness to take the responsibility for their lives away from themselves and blame it on some fake idea that's beyond their control. We can't admit that anyone who analyzes their life and concludes I have a true nature that I will live by is more enlightened than anything any human being has ever created about life in all those social science courses at college. We can't admit that a self-aware person who has compassion for others is a much better counselor than any boob with a bunch of degrees who pretends to be wise and hides behind a bunch of meaningless psychobabble, then diagnoses drugs to boot, not to mention that they often implant false memories and ideas by trying to string a patient along for many therapy sessions to make money, probing their past, which means nothing. All that means anything is your state of being right now, either naturally inspired, following the world's artificial values. Couch potato. There are no great theories of life that are going to make someone happy forever. Everything is momentary. You're either inspired, know how to live an inspired life and do it, or you're mundane. The best you can do in life is know you're a loner soul just like everyone else, a loner with your own essence known to no one but you. You will never know another human being on a profound intimate level, so don't be nosy. Don't pry. Don't overestimate romantic love. It's a temporary spray of hormones that dies down. If you want true unconditional love, love animals, or love God, some supernatural character that is always available in your imagination. Know your soul, true nature, or essence, and live by it. Do that by striving to release your natural energy almost every day, barring rest days, to match an inner standard you should feel given by your Creator at birth that tells what you should do and need to do. Follow this inner voice to be the natural you. Try not to live by the artificial values of the capitalist pop culture psychobabble matrix with the system imposing its ideas on you. You have to earn money to pay your way, but beyond that, you don't have to buy into the government as some force over you, the lies they teach in school, the news, the ideas of coolness, fashion, social norms, or psychobabble. The worst you can do is to waste your life on meaningless stuff like sitting around watching frivolous stuff on a screen, trying to be cool or get attention from other people, living for your ego, how you think others see you, being addicted to some negative stuff like drugs, alcohol, food, home decor, etc. If you want to help someone, the best you can do is to help them one by trying to be a true friend, not putting them into some fraudulent category created by the system, then giving them mental health drugs. Almost all problems of the mind are problems of the spirit. Common sense mental health. Here are some ideas that I thought up as to what constitutes mental health or living a good life. Know your soul, essence, or purity as a human being and live by it, not allowing the world to brainwash you with its artificial values. Pay your own way through life, figure out an honest way to make money. Follow society's laws to stay out of trouble with law enforcement. Follow the moral laws of not lying, stealing, cheating, and sleeping around in order to avoid trouble with the people you deal with. Don't hurt or exploit other people, animals, or nature. Get along with people. You don't have to love them, just be able to go around in public without getting angry and starting a fight. Feel the emotions inside of you, control them, analyze them, understand them, ask yourself why you react negatively when you do. Be empathetic, try to sympathize with what others are going through. Seek out pleasure without hurting anything alive. Love at least one living thing, be it animal or human. Try different things to discover who you were born to be, what you were born to do by nature. Have a noble sensibility, strive to do tough, inspired things. Don't fall for the lie that you have a hidden, mysterious subconscious mind. Be an artist of your life, explore what you want. Create your life every day, don't believe in the lie that you're wounded by something from your past. Have fun. Live an interesting life for yourself, not for the standards of the world. Be cool and relaxed no matter what. It's your life alone in your own head. Be active mentally, spiritually, aesthetically, and hedonistically. You don't have to do exercise. That sounds Spartan. Be physically active. It's as simple as dancing or walking the dog. Always be aware of Dante Alighieri's first deadly sin: pride, ego, arrogance, vanity. Don't be concerned with what others might be thinking of you. Just be a good person within yourself. Benjamin Franklin said, "What others think of me is none of my business." Once you stop trying to impress people with how cool and successful you might be, you're free to be yourself away from the BS of the world. Eat healthy foods as close to their natural state as possible without being processed in a factory. Get enough sleep. Avoid contact with as many chemicals as possible, including drugs. I believe in drugs for pain control, but beyond that, they're largely a scam perpetrated on humanity. The idea that you need drugs to heal your ailments, make you feel better, etc. Less stress / more happiness. Don't hurry, don't worry. You're only here for a short visit. Walter C. Hagen. Angels fly because they take themselves lightly. C.K. Chesterton. Pets lower stress. I have worried about many things in my life, most of which never came to pass. Poster of old man sitting, thinking. Less stress and more happiness means different things to different people. Some of these things are: don't worry, be happy. Be inspired about life. Live by your intuitive inner standard. Live by a flow of mind, body, and soul. Live by inner peace to heal and strengthen yourself. Be active about life. Be energetic. Rest when you need to, then renew yourself and get back on it. Get away from negative people. Don't criticize others nor let anybody's criticism faze you. Have goals but don't obsess over them at the expense of life as lived. Exercise regularly. Talk about your problems. Get plenty of rest and eat a healthy diet. If things do not go your way, try compromise rather than confrontation. Avoid drugs. Learn to relax. Be persistent. Be passionate. Be a good conversationalist. Understand yourself. Be happy and strong with who you are. Pay attention to stressful thoughts. Be aware if you are falling into any pitfalls of negative thinking. Think in a more balanced and rational way. Take the time to talk to someone who cares about you. Express feelings you might have been holding in. Do something that will make you laugh. Watch a funny movie, read a funny book. Take it easy, enjoy your life. It's too short. Relax. Be positive. Take failure as a challenge to be better in a healthy way, or don't take it hard at all, just another transient experience of life. Love yourself. Simplify your life. Love somebody, raise a good family. Ponder the deep spiritual questions of life. Try to find meaning and purpose to your life. Try to find meaning and purpose in the daily things you do. Be kind to others. Forgive your enemies. Have hope for a better future. Free yourself from everything around you. Feel your emotions and understand them. Try to think clearly so you understand your life. Don't be too lazy or too apathetic. Seek balance. Seek truth. Be responsible for your life. Develop an attitude for being satisfied, having few needs. Don't be greedy for money or power. Live in a smooth flow, doing what intuitively feels right. Choose your own destiny, control your own life. Go out and do things. Lose weight. Don't smoke. Talk to a friend, lover, or pet once in a while. Be more quiet and passive about things. Think positive thoughts. Believe in yourself. Believe in God. Grow as a person every day. Cope with your problems by eliminating them or not worrying about them. Try meditation, focused relaxation. Eat healthy foods. Have sex. Do creative things, soulful pursuits. Sleep well. Avoid sick and miserable people. Do something physical. Be less angry. Trust humanity more. Take breaks and holidays. Drink less booze, do less drugs, even prescription drugs. Be happy with almost nothing. If a get-rich-quick schemes really worked, the owner would try to maximize it by owning the entire market for himself. Real estate can work if you get good tenants, but bad tenants can destroy you. No matter how much hype you see on CNBC, Bloomberg, etc. every day, the stock market is always going to crash big. They call it a correction. I've seen millions of people lose over 50% in the stock market in one fell swoop several times over 30 years. It's a big scam on everybody except for the few insiders at the top who all do insider trading. I want to feel good health-wise and aesthetically spiritually, doing what I want within reason. I don't have sex with any female I want like Jeffrey Epstein did. I don't need drugs or alcohol. I don't own much. I can understand a guy with several kids who has to support them constantly trying to make money, but you really don't need much. The most valuable thing I own is the free time to do what I want. Active kids doing what they want are generally happy. I'm definitely against helicopter parenting, which is signing up your kid for everything, trying to make him or her a star, trying to get them to develop productive habits at a young age. It's not natural. Many rebel to a regimented childhood by becoming hippies. Motivating children should be easy. Help them discover what they're interested in, then push the education to that direction. We played ground hockey all the time in the schoolyard. We had a summer camp where we swam, boated, hiked, built forts, etc. My father brought us around to his friends who played music. Because of that, I played trumpet for about 10 years. He didn't force me. He just showed me the guy playing a trumpet. I liked it, so I learned it. Take your kids to the library. It's free. For me, school was naturally interesting. They said I was gifted, but for me, it was natural to want to learn new things. Look at hashtag 155-158 at the library for psychobabble, motivational type books. Happiness in the Bible. It's fine to constantly try to improve your life, but the Bible also encourages us to enjoy our lives now and accept life as is. This is the attitude of gratitude with which you should travel if you want to be happy. Instead of seeking financial improvement for the future, focus more on savoring the present. Don't let yourself get brainwashed by corporate advertising. A sound heart is the life of the body, but envy the rottenness of the bones. Proverbs 14:30. All the days of the afflicted are evil, but he who is of a merry heart has a continual feast. Proverbs 15:15. Even in laughter the heart is sorrowful and mirth may end in grief. Proverbs 14:13. Give me neither poverty nor riches, feed me with only as much food as I need. Proverbs 30:8. Happy is the man whom God corrects, therefore despise not the chastening of the Almighty, for he makes sore and binds up, he wounds and his hands make whole. Job 5:17-28. The triumphing of the wicked is short and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment. Job 20:5. His anger endures but a moment, in his favor is life. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. You have turned my mourning into dancing. You have put off my sackcloth and circled me with gladness. Psalms 30:5. There is nothing better for a man, than that he should eat and drink and that he should make his soul enjoy good in his labor. This also, I saw, was from the hand of God. Ecclesiastes 2:24. Better is a dry morsel and quietness with it, than a banquet in a house full of troubles. Proverbs 17:1. A merry heart does good like a medicine, but a broken spirit dries up the bones. Proverbs 17:22. Better is what the eye sees than the wandering of desire, this is futile, a chasing after the wind. Ecclesiastes 6:9. I have learned, in whatever state I am, to be content. I know what it is to have little and I know what it is to have plenty. Everywhere and in all things I have learned to endure both fullness and hunger, both to have plenty and to be in need. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Philippians 4:11-13. They shall be abundantly satisfied with the prosperity of your house and you shall make them drink from the river of your pleasures. For with you is the fountain of life, in your light shall we see light. Psalms 36:8. Delight yourself in the Lord and he shall give you the desires of your heart. Psalms 37:4. There is a river whose streams shall make glad the city of God, the holy place, the dwelling place of the Most High. Psalms 46:4. Light is sown for the righteous and gladness for the upright in heart. Psalms 97:11. Happy is the man that finds wisdom and the man that gets understanding. For it is more profitable than silver and it gives greater return than fine gold. Wisdom is more precious than rubies and all the things you can desire are not to be compared to it. Length of days is in its right hand and in its left hand are riches and honor. Its ways are ways of pleasantness and all its paths are peace. Wisdom is a tree of life and a blessing to those who lay hold upon it. Proverbs 3:13-18. He that despises his neighbor sins, but he who has mercy on the poor, happy is he. Proverbs 14:21. Whoever trusts in the Lord, happy is he. Proverbs 16:20. I will greatly rejoice in the Lord, my soul shall be joyful in my God, for he has clothed me with the garments of salvation, he has covered me with the robe of righteousness, as a bridegroom decks himself with ornaments and as a bride adorns herself with her jewels. For as the earth brings forth her buds and as the garden causes the things that are sown in it to spring forth, so the Lord God will cause righteousness and praise to spring forth before all the nations. Isaiah 61:10-11. This is the day which the Lord has made, we will rejoice and be glad in it. Psalms 118:24. They that sow in tears shall reap in joy. Psalms 126:5. Blessed is everyone that fears the Lord, that walks in his ways. For you shall eat the labor of your hands, happy shall you be and it shall be well with you. Psalms 128:1-2. Happy is that people whose God is the Lord. Psalms 144:15. My soul shall be satisfied as with delightful foods, and my mouth shall praise you with joyful lips. Psalm 63:5. The righteous shall be glad in the Lord and shall trust in him, and all the upright in heart shall glory. Psalm 64:10. Let the righteous be glad, let them rejoice. Before God, indeed, let them exceedingly rejoice. Psalm 68:3. The zeal for your house has consumed me. Psalm 69:9. Blessed is the people that know the joyful sound, they shall walk, O Lord, in the light of your countenance. In your name shall they rejoice all the day, and in your righteousness shall they be exalted. Psalms 89:15-16. Light is sown for the righteous, and gladness for the upright in heart. Psalms 97:11. This is the day which the Lord has made, we will rejoice and be glad in it. Psalms 118:24. I will greatly rejoice in the Lord, my soul shall be joyful in my God, for he has clothed me with the garments of salvation, he has covered me with the robe of righteousness, as a bridegroom decks himself with ornaments, and as a bride adorns herself with her jewels. 4. As the earth brings forth her bud, and as the garden causes the things that are sown in it to spring forth, so the Lord God will cause righteousness and praise to spring forth before all the nations. Isaiah 61:10-11. Although the fig tree shall not blossom, nor fruit be on the vines, the produce of the olive fail, and the fields yield no food, the flock be cut off from the fold, and there be no herd in the stalls, yet I will rejoice in the Lord, I will joy in the God of my salvation. Habakkuk 3:17-18. Blessed are you when men hate you, and when they exclude you from their company, and insult you and slander your name for the Son of Man's sake. Rejoice in that day and leap for joy, for, behold, your reward is great in heaven, for this is how their fathers treated the prophets. Luke 6:22-23. These things have I spoken to you, so that my joy might remain in you, and that your joy might be full. John 15:9-11. These things I have spoken to you, so that in me you might have peace. In the world you shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer, I have overcome the world. John 16:33. The disciples were filled with joy and with the Holy Spirit. Acts 13:52. We have access by faith into this grace in which we stand, and we rejoice in hope of the glory of God. And not only so, but we glory in tribulations also, knowing that tribulation produces patience, and patience, experience, and experience, hope. Romans 5:2-4. I am filled with comfort, I am exceeding joyful in all our tribulation. 2 Corinthians 7:4. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, self-control, against such there is no law. Galatians 5:22-23. Be not drunk with wine, which leads to immorality, but be filled with the Spirit, speaking to yourselves in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, are singing and making melody in your hearts to the Lord. Ephesians 5:18-19. Godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we can carry nothing out. And having food and clothing, let us be content. 1 Timothy 6:6-8. Go your way, eat your bread with joy, and drink your wine with a merry heart. Ecclesiastes 9:7. Rejoice, O young man, in your youth, and let your heart cheer you in the days of your youth. Walk in the ways of your heart and whatever your eyes see, but know that for all these things God will bring you into judgment. Ecclesiastes 11:9. These things I have spoken to you, that in me you might have peace. In the world you shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer, I have overcome the world. John 16:33. Be not drunk with wine, which leads to ruin, but be filled with the Spirit, speaking to yourselves in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing and making melody in your heart to the Lord. Ephesians 5:18-19. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again I say, rejoice. Let your gentleness be known to all men. The Lord is at hand. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. Philippians 4:4-7. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various temptations, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. But let patience have its full effect, so that you may be mature and complete, lacking nothing. James 1:2-4. Rejoice, since you are sharing in Christ's sufferings, so that when his glory shall be revealed, you may be glad also with exceeding joy. 1 Peter 4:13. Let your lives be free from covetousness and be content with such things as you have, for he has said, I will never leave you, nor forsake you. Hebrews 13:5. A merry heart makes a cheerful countenance, but by sorrow of the heart the spirit is broken. Proverbs 15:13. All the days of the afflicted are evil, but he who is of a merry heart has a continual feast. Proverbs 15:15. For a man's life consists not in the abundance of the things which he possesses. Luke 12:15. You shall go out with joy and be led forth with peace, the mountains and the hills shall break forth before you into singing and all the trees of wood shall clap their hands. Isaiah 55:12. I have come that they might have life and that they might have it more abundantly. John 10:10. The peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. Philippians 4:7. If you suffer for righteousness' sake, happy are you, and be not afraid of their terror, neither be troubled. Peter 3:14. Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened to you. But rejoice in that you are sharing in Christ's sufferings, so that you may be glad and shout for joy when his glory is revealed. Peter 4:12. Whatever state I'm in, I will be content. Philippians 4:11. Be content with what you have. Hebrews 13:5. Being cheerful keeps you healthy. It is slow death to be gloomy all the time. Proverbs 17:22. Heaviness in the heart of man makes it stoop, but a good word makes it glad. Proverbs 12:25. God loves a cheerful giver. 2 Corinthians 9:7. Is any merry? Let him sing psalms. James 5:13. Chapter 2. Happiness is simply being natural. Happiness according to World Happiness Report. They supposedly rank the happiest countries, which are mostly cold, European Scandinavian countries. Canada was in the top 10 for the year I looked at. I find this weird. I was brought up in Canada and live there now because I'm not rich, but I spent about 20 years living in warm places. Why would anybody willingly live in a refrigerator for half a year when there are warm places everywhere? Happiness is a relative term. People seem depressed around Halifax, where I live, all winter long. You cannot feel happy in cold weather. The happiness report talks about the marvels of digital technology adding to happiness, but then says tech addiction is bad. They say Denmark has a sense of community. What's that? We don't have a unified culture here. We have immigrants from all over the world, each with their own tribe. They call it diversity. There is no sense of community when you have hundreds of groups all clamoring for rights, hating the majority group while pretending not to. Happiness quotes at ponb.com/true-happiness-quotes. A happy person is not a person in a certain set of circumstances, but rather a person with a certain set of attitudes, Hugh Downs. All seasons are beautiful for the person who carries happiness within, Horace Freese. Be happy in the moment, that's enough. Each moment is all we need, not more, Mother Teresa. Be happy with what you have and are, be generous with both, and you won't have to hunt for happiness, William E. Gladstone. Every moment that's ever been, or ever will be, is gone the instant it's begun. So life is a loss. And the secret of happiness is to learn to love the moment more than you mourn the loss, Dan Baker. Grudges are a waste of perfect happiness. Laugh when you can. Apologize when you should and let go of what you can't change, Drake. Happiness is surrounding yourself only with those who bestow their unconditional love and support, Ken Poirot. Happiness is the consequence of personal effort. You fight for it, strive for it, insist upon it, and sometimes even travel around the world looking for it. You have to participate relentlessly in the manifestations of your own blessings. And once you have achieved a state of happiness, you must never become lax about maintaining it. You must make a mighty effort to keep swimming upward into that happiness forever, to stay afloat on top of it, Elizabeth Gilbert. Happiness cannot be traveled to, owned, earned, worn or consumed. Happiness is the spiritual experience of living every minute with love, grace, and gratitude, Dennis Waitley. Happiness is wanting what you have, Phyllis Reynolds Naylor. Happiness is a choice that requires effort at times, Anon. Happiness is a form of courage, Holbrook Jackson. Happiness is not a station you arrive at, but a manner of traveling, Margaret Lee Runbeck. Happiness is excitement that has found a settling down place. But there is always a little corner that keeps flapping around, E. L. Königsberg. Happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony, Mahatma Gandhi. Happiness, true happiness, is an inner quality. It is a state of mind. If your mind is at peace, you are happy. If your mind is at peace, but you have nothing else, you can be happy. If you have everything the world can give, pleasure, possessions, power, but lack peace of mind, you can never be happy, Dada Vaswani. Happiness is like a butterfly which, when pursued, is always beyond our grasp, but which, if you will sit down quietly, may alight upon you, Nathaniel Hawthorne. Happiness is not something ready-made. It comes from your own actions, the Dalai Lama. Happiness starts within us. It always has been. Happiness cannot find a home in a heart that does not understand hope and acceptance. Happy is the man who can endure the highest and lowest fortune. He who has endured such vicissitudes with equanimity has deprived misfortune of its power, Seneca. Health is not just the absence of a disease. It's an inner joyfulness that should be ours all the time, a state of positive well-being, Deepak Chopra. How we feel about ourselves, the joy we get from living, ultimately depends directly on how the mind filters and interprets everyday experiences. Whether we are happy depends on inner harmony, not on the controls we are able to exert over the great forces of the universe, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. If what you call happiness are the pleasurable feelings that you experience when things are going very well in your life, then you truly don't know what true happiness is, Edmund Mbayaka. If you are looking for true happiness, you have to change your level of consciousness and deepness of awareness, Debsi Shmridha. It's not how much we have, but how much we enjoy that makes happiness, unknown. Joy comes not through possession or ownership but through a wise and loving heart, Gautama Buddha. Learn to be your own best friend first, then you will find true happiness, because happiness is from within, Gift Gugumona. Many persons have a wrong idea of what constitutes true happiness. It is not attained through self-gratification but through fidelity to a worthy purpose, Helen Keller. Most folks are as happy as they make up their minds to be, Abraham Lincoln. Only those who seek within, get to discover their true unconditional happiness, Edmund Mbayaka. Opening a dark box can make you very unhappy. But for the love of truth, never hesitate even a second to open it, because the truth is the way to true happiness, Mehmet Murat Ilden. Peace is something like happiness, You cannot say I will be happy when, and you can't say I will be peaceful when. Your happiness shouldn't depend on the situation you're in nor on the circumstances that surround you. In the same breath, you cannot wait for everything around you to become peaceful in order for you to say, I am peaceful. In both happiness and peace, there is a heart of strength, determination, and steadfastness, a heart that has the power to make things happen. You have to be at peace. You have to be happy. Now, see. Joy Bell see. Realize that true happiness lies within you. Waste no time and effort searching for peace and contentment and joy in the world outside. Remember that there is no happiness in having or in getting, but only in giving. Reach out. Share. Smile. Hug. Happiness is a perfume you cannot pour on others without getting a few drops on yourself. Augmandino. Rules for happiness: something to do, someone to love, something to hope for. Immanuel Kant. Seeking external validation brings disappointment. Validate yourself from within to find true happiness. Amy Lee McCree. Since you alone are responsible for your thoughts, only you can change them. You will want to change them when you realize that each thought creates according to its own nature. Remember that the law works at all times and that you are always demonstrating according to the kind of thoughts you habitually entertain. Therefore, start now to think only those thoughts that will bring you health and happiness. Paramahansa Yogananda. Sometimes we must undergo hardships, breakups, and narcissistic wounds, which shatter the flattering image that we had of ourselves, in order to discover two truths: that we are not who we thought we were, and that the loss of a cherished pleasure is not necessarily the loss of true happiness and well-being. Jean-Yves Leloup. Success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success. If you love what you are doing, you will be successful. Albert Schweitzer. Success is how you collect your minutes. You spend millions of minutes to reach one triumph, one moment, and then you spend maybe 1,000 minutes enjoying it. If you were unhappy through those millions of minutes, what good is the 1,000 minutes of triumph? It doesn't equate. Life is made of small pleasures. Good eye contact over the breakfast table with your wife. A moment of touching a friend. Happiness is made of those tiny successes. The big ones come too infrequently. If you don't have all those zillions of tiny successes, the big ones don't mean anything. Norman Lear. The secret of happiness is to admire without desiring. Carl Sandburg. The less you want, the richer you are. The more you need in order to be happy, the more miserable you'll be. Yanni. The value of a smile: it costs nothing but creates much. It enriches those who receive, without impoverishing those who give. It happens in a flash and the memory of it sometimes lasts forever. None are so rich they can get along without it, and none so poor but are richer for its benefits. It creates happiness in the home, fosters goodwill in a business, and is the countersign of friends. Dale Carnegie. The really happy person is one who can enjoy the scenery when on a detour, unknown. The road to happiness lies in two simple principles: find what it is that interests you and that you can do well, and when you find it, put your whole soul into it, every bit of energy and ambition and natural ability you have. John D. Rockefeller. 3. The foolish man seeks happiness in the distance, the wise grows it under his feet. James Oppenheim. The best remedy for those who are afraid, lonely, or unhappy is to go outside, somewhere where they can be quiet, alone with the heavens, nature, and God. Because only then does one feel that all is as it should be and that God wishes to see people happy, amidst the simple beauty of nature. Anne Frank. The basic thing is that everyone wants happiness, no one wants suffering. And happiness mainly comes from our own attitude, rather than from external factors. If your own mental attitude is correct, even if you remain in a hostile atmosphere, you feel happy. The Dalai Lama. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Marcus Aurelius. There is only one cause of unhappiness: the false beliefs you have in your head, beliefs so widespread, so commonly held, that it never occurs to you to question them. Anthony de Mello. There are no happier people on this planet than those who decide that they want something, define what they want, get hold of the feeling of it even before its manifestation, and then joyously watch the unfolding as, piece by piece by piece, it begins to unfold. That's the feeling of your hands in the clay, Esther Hicks. There is no duty we so much underrate as the duty of being happy. By being happy we sow anonymous benefits upon the world, Robert Louis Stevenson. There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will, Epictetus. True happiness arises, in the first place, from the enjoyment of one's self, and in the next, from the friendship and conversation of a few select companions, Joseph Addison. True happiness for human beings is possible only to those who develop their godlike potentialities to the utmost, Bertrand Russell. True happiness cannot be achieved through wealth, fame, or action, but through love, modesty, and self-satisfaction, Moulad Benzaidi. True happiness comes from the joy of deeds well done, the zest of creating things new, Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. True happiness starts in the core of our true selves as a constant, a guidepost, a default, and a strength that shines from the inside out, Elena Marie. True happiness is, to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future, Lucius Annius Seneca. Trust yourself. Create the kind of self that you will be happy to live with all your life. Make the most of yourself by fanning the tiny, inner sparks of possibility into flames of achievement, Golda Meir. Ultimately, happiness comes down to choosing between the discomfort of becoming aware of your mental afflictions and the discomfort of being ruled by them, Yanji Minjai Urinpaka. We tend to forget that happiness doesn't come as a result of getting something we don't have, but rather of recognizing and appreciating what we do have, Frederick Koenig. We should practice by showing one another love and helping one another. It is a mistake to pursue happiness and to seek to avoid suffering by deceiving and humiliating other people. We must try to achieve happiness and eliminate suffering by being good-hearted and well-behaved, the Dalai Lama. When we understand clearly that inner peace is the real source of happiness, and how, through spiritual practice, we can experience progressively deeper levels of inner peace, we will develop tremendous enthusiasm to practice, Geshe Kelsang Gyatso. When you're happy for no reason, you bring happiness to your outer experiences rather than trying to extract happiness from them. You don't need to manipulate the world around you to try to make yourself happy. You live from happiness, rather than for happiness, Marcy Shimoff. When you discover true happiness, you will find that you are wealthier beyond the dreams of kings, Jeffrey Fry. You have to believe in happiness, or happiness never comes, Douglas Malik. Happiness quotes at keepinspiring.me/quotes about happiness. A great obstacle to happiness is to expect too much happiness, Bernard de Fontenelle. A truly happy person is one who can enjoy the scenery while on a detour. A truly happy person is one who can enjoy the scenery while on a detour, unknown. All happiness depends on courage and work, Honoré de Balzac. All happiness or unhappiness solely depends upon the quality of the object to which we are attached by love, Baruch Spinoza. As people spin faster and faster in the pursuit of merely personal happiness, they become exhausted in the futile effort of chasing themselves, Andrew Delbanco. Ask yourself whether you are happy and you cease to be so, John Stuart Mill. Be happy. It's one way of being wise, Colette. Be happy for this moment. This moment is your life, Omar Khayyam. Be happy with what you have. Be excited about what you want, Alan Cohen. Can anything be so elegant as to have few wants, and to serve them oneself, Ralph Waldo Emerson. Cheerfulness is what greases the axles of the world. Don't go through life creaking, H.W. Biles. Chinese proverb: one joy scatters 100 griefs. Don't waste your time in anger, regrets, worries, and grudges. Life is too short to be unhappy, Roy T. Bennett. Even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness, and the word happy would lose its meaning if it were not balanced by sadness. It is far better to take things as they come along with patience and equanimity, Carl Jung. Even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness, and the word happy would lose its meaning if it were not balanced by sadness. It is far better to take things as they come along with patience and equanimity, Carl Jung. Finnish happiness proverb. Happiness is a place between too much and too little. Folks are usually about as happy as they make their minds up to be, Abraham Lincoln. For every minute you are angry you lose 60 seconds of happiness, Ralph Waldo Emerson. Give a man health and a course to steer, and he'll never stop to trouble about whether he's happy or not, George Bernard Shaw. Happiness is the natural flower of duty, Phillips Brooks. Happiness is an accident of nature, a beautiful and flawless aberration, Pat Conroy. Happiness is the resultant of the relative strengths of positive and negative feelings rather than an absolute amount of one or the other, Norman Bradburn. Happiness is not something ready-made. It comes from your own actions, Dalai Lama. Happiness is holding someone in your arms and knowing you hold the whole world, Orhan Pamuk. Happiness is not being pained in body or troubled in mind, Thomas Jefferson. Happiness is your dentist telling you it won't hurt and then having him catch his hand in the drill, Johnny Carson. Happiness cannot be traveled to, owned, earned, worn or consumed. Happiness is the spiritual experience of living every minute with love, grace, and gratitude, Dennis Waitley. Happiness is the default state. It's what's there when you remove the sense that something is missing in life, Naval Ravikant. Happiness is being content with what you have, living in freedom and liberty, having a good family life and good friends, Divyankatrapathy. Happiness consists more in conveniences of pleasure that occur every day than in great pieces of good fortune that happen but seldom, Benjamin Franklin. Happiness is a conscious choice, not an automatic response, Mildred Barthel. Happiness grows at our own firesides, and is not to be picked in strangers' gardens, Douglas Gerald. Happiness is excitement that has found a settling down place. But there is always a little corner that keeps flapping around, E.L. Königsberg. Happiness is always the serendipitous result of looking for something else, Dr. Idell Dreamer. Happiness in this world, when it comes incidentally. Make it the object of pursuit, and it leads us a wild goose chase, and is never attained, Nathaniel Hawthorne. Happiness is always a byproduct. It is probably a matter of temperament, and for anything I know it may be glandular. But it is not something that can be demanded from life, and if you are not happy you had better stop worrying about it and see what treasures you can pluck from your own brand of unhappiness, Robertson Davies. Happiness makes up in height for what it lacks in length, Robert Frost. Happiness always looks small while you hold it in your hands, but let it go, and you learn at once how big and precious it is, Maxim Gorky. Happiness is not a goal, it is a byproduct, Eleanor Roosevelt. Happiness is a well-balanced combination of love, labor, and luck, Mary Wilson Little. Happiness lies in the joy of achievement and the thrill of creative effort, Franklin D. Roosevelt. Happiness is like a butterfly which, when pursued, is always beyond our grasp, but, if you will sit down quietly, may alight upon you, Nathaniel Hawthorne. Happiness is not an ideal of reason, but of imagination, Immanuel Kant. Happiness is the experience of loving life. Being happy is being in love with that momentary experience. And love is looking at someone or even something and seeing the absolute best in him/her or it. Love is happiness with what you see. So love and happiness really are the same thing, just expressed differently, Robert McPhillips. Happiness is a place between too much and too little, Finnish proverb. Happiness is the interval between periods of unhappiness, Don Marquis. Happiness is having a large, loving, caring, close-knit family in another city, George Burns. Happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony, Mahatma Gandhi. Happiness is a constant work in progress, because solving problems is a constant work in progress, the solutions to today's problems will lay the foundation for tomorrow's problems, and so on. True happiness occurs only when you find the problems you enjoy having and enjoy solving. Mark Manson. Happiness is a byproduct of an effort to make someone else happy. Greta Brooker Palmer. Happiness consists more in conveniences of pleasure that occur every day than in great pieces of good fortune that happen but seldom. Benjamin Franklin. Happiness depends upon ourselves. Aristotle. Happiness and sadness run parallel to each other. When one takes a rest, the other one tends to take up the slack. Hazel Marie Elliott. Happiness is not a state to arrive at, but a manner of traveling. Margaret Lee Runbeck. Happiness is a form of courage. Holbrook Jackson. Happiness is a function of accepting what is. Werner Erhard. Happiness is not something you postpone for the future, it is something you design for the present. Jim Rohn. Happiness is a direction, not a place. Sidney J. Harris. Happiness is a matter of one's most ordinary and everyday mode of consciousness being busy and lively and unconcerned with self. Iris Murdoch. Happiness is distraction from the human tragedy. J.M. Rianiso. Happiness is the meaning and the purpose of life, the whole aim and end of human existence. Aristotle. Happiness is not a goal, it is a byproduct. Eleanor Roosevelt. Happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony. Mahatma Gandhi. Happiness is a state of activity. Aristotle. Happiness lies in the joy of achievement and the thrill of creative effort. Franklin Roosevelt. Happiness is only real when shared. John Krakauer. Happiness is an inside job. William Arthur Ward. Happiness is where we find it, but very rarely where we seek it. J. Petit Sen. Happy girls are the prettiest. Audrey Hepburn. He who lives in harmony with himself lives in harmony with the universe. Marcus Aurelius. How simple it is to see that we can only be happy now, and there will never be a time when it is not now. Gerald Jampolsky. I think the key to life is just being a happy person, and happiness will bring you success. Diego Val. I have only two kinds of days, happy and hysterically happy. Alan J. Leffert Inc. I must learn to be content with being happier than I deserve. Jane Austen. Pride and Prejudice. If there were in the world today any large number of people who desired their own happiness more than they desired the unhappiness of others, we could have a paradise in a few years. Bertrand Russell. If you want happiness for an hour, take a nap. If you want happiness for a day, go fishing. If you want happiness for a year, inherit a fortune. If you want happiness for a lifetime, help someone else. Chinese proverb. If a person's basic state of mind is serene and calm, then it is possible for this inner peace to overwhelm a painful physical experience. On the other hand, if someone is suffering from depression, anxiety, or any form of emotional distress, then even if he or she happens to be enjoying physical comforts, he will not really be able to experience the happiness that these could bring. Tenzin Gyatso, 14th Dalai Lama. If you want happiness for an hour, take a nap. If you want happiness for a day, go fishing. If you want happiness for a month, get married. If you want happiness for a year, inherit a fortune. If you want happiness for a lifetime, help someone else. Chinese proverb. If you want to be happy, be. Leo Tolstoy. If you observe a really happy man, you will find him building a boat, writing a symphony, educating his son, growing double dahlias in his garden, or looking for dinosaur eggs in the Gobi Desert. He will not be searching for happiness as if it were a collar button that has rolled under the radiator. He will not be striving for it as a goal in itself. He will have become aware that he is happy in the course of living life 24 crowded hours of the day. W. Baron Wolf. If you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. Dalai Lama. If you look to others for fulfillment, you will never be fulfilled. If your happiness depends on money, you will never be happy with yourself. Be content with what you have, rejoice in the way things are. When you realize there is nothing lacking, the world belongs to you, Lao Tzu. If you are not happy here and now, you never will be, Taizen Deshimaru. If only we'd stop trying to be happy we could have a pretty good time, Edith Wharton. If you want to be happy, set a goal that commands your thoughts, liberates your energy, and inspires your hopes, Andrew Carnegie. If only we'd stop trying to be happy we could have a pretty good time, Edith Wharton. In order to have great happiness you have to have great pain and unhappiness, otherwise how would you know when you're happy, Leslie Caron. In my life I've learned that true happiness comes from giving. Helping others along the way makes you evaluate who you are. I think that love is what we're all searching for. I haven't come across anyone who didn't become a better person through love, Marla Gibbs. Indeed, man wishes to be happy even when he so lives as to make happiness impossible, St. Augustine. It is not how much we have, but how much we enjoy, that makes happiness, Charles Spurgeon. It is not how much we have, but how much we enjoy, that makes happiness. It isn't what you have or who you are or where you are or what you are doing that makes you happy or unhappy. It is what you think about it, Dale Carnegie. It isn't what you have or who you are or where you are or what you are doing that makes you happy or unhappy. It is what you think about it, Dale Carnegie. It's been my experience that you can nearly always enjoy things if you make up your mind firmly that you will, L.M. Montgomery. It's the moments that I stop just to be, rather than do, that have given me true happiness, Sir Richard Branson. Joy is a net of love by which you can catch souls, Mother Teresa. Judge nothing, you will be happy. Forgive everything, you will be happier. Love everything, you will be happiest, Sri Chinmoy. Just as a cautious businessman avoids investing all his capital in one concern, so wisdom would probably admonish us also not to anticipate all our happiness from one quarter alone, Sigmund Freud. Learn to enjoy every minute of your life. Be happy now. Don't wait for something outside of yourself to make you happy in the future. Think how really precious is the time you have to spend, whether it's at work or with your family. Every minute should be enjoyed and savored, Earl Nightingale. Learn to let go. That is the key to happiness, Buddha. Learn to value yourself, which means, fight for your happiness, Ayn Rand. Let us be grateful to people who make us happy, they are the charming gardeners who make our souls blossom, Marcel Proust. Love is that condition in which the happiness of another person is essential to your own, Robert A. Heinlein. Man is fond of counting his troubles, but he does not count his joys. If he counted them up as he ought to, he would see that every lot has enough happiness provided for it, Fyodor Dostoevsky. Many persons have a wrong idea of what constitutes true happiness. It is not attained through self-gratification but through fidelity to a worthy purpose, Helen Keller. Many things can make you miserable for weeks, few can bring you a whole day of happiness, Mignon McLaughlin. Most people would rather be certain they're miserable, than risk being happy, Robert Anthony. Most of us believe in trying to make other people happy only if they can be happy in ways which we approve, Robert S. Lind. Most people would rather be certain they're miserable, than risk being happy, Robert Anthony. My family didn't have a lot of money, and I'm grateful for that. Money is the longest route to happiness, Evangeline Lilly. No medicine cures what happiness cannot, Gabriel Garcia Marquez. No one is in control of your happiness but you, therefore, you have the power to change anything about yourself or your life that you want to change, Barbara DeAngelis. Nobody really cares if you're miserable, so you might as well be happy, Cynthia Nelms. Now and then it's good to pause in our pursuit of happiness and just be happy, Guillaume Apollinaire. On the whole, the happiest people seem to be those who have no particular cause for being happy except that they are so, William R. Inga. One joy scatters 100 griefs, Chinese proverb. Our capacity to draw happiness from aesthetic objects or material goods in fact seems critically dependent on our first satisfying a more important range of emotional or psychological needs, among them the need for understanding, for love, expression, and respect. Alain de Botton. People are unhappy when they get something too easily. You have to sweat, that's the only moral they know. Denis Lefourier. People should find happiness in the little things, like family. Amanda Bynes. Plenty of people miss their share of happiness, not because they never found it, but because they didn't stop to enjoy it. William Feather. Real happiness is cheap enough, yet how dearly we pay for its counterfeit. Hosea Ballou. Real happiness is not of temporary enjoyment, but is so interwoven with the future that it blesses forever. James Lendell Basford. Real happiness is cheap enough, yet how dearly we pay for its counterfeit. Sanity and happiness are an impossible combination. Mark Twain. So we shall let the reader answer this question for himself: who is the happier man, he who has braved the storm of life and lived, or he who has stayed securely on shore and merely existed? Hunter S. Thompson. Sometimes life knocks you on your ass. Get up, get up, get up. Happiness is not the absence of problems, it's the ability to deal with them. Steve Maraboli. Success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success. If you love what you are doing, you will be successful. Albert Schweitzer. Success is getting what you want, happiness is wanting what you get. W.P. Kinsella. The only way to find true happiness is to risk being completely cut open. Chuck Palahniuk. The fact is always obvious much too late, but the most singular difference between happiness and joy is that happiness is a solid and joy a liquid. J.D. Salinger. The foolish man seeks happiness in the distance, the wise grows it under his feet. James Oppenheim. The happiness of life is made up of the little charities of a kiss or smile, a kind look, a heartfelt compliment. Samuel Taylor Coleridge. The true secret of happiness lies in the taking a genuine interest in all the details of daily life. William Morris. The only way to avoid being miserable is not to have enough leisure to wonder whether you are happy or not. George Bernard Shaw. The world is full of people looking for spectacular happiness while they snub contentment. Doug Larson. The happiness which is lacking makes one think even the happiness one has unbearable. Joseph Roux. The foolish man seeks happiness in the distance, the wise grows it under his feet. James Oppenheim. The secret of happiness is freedom, the secret of freedom is courage. Carrie Jones. The secret of happiness is to find a congenial monotony. V.S. Pritchett. The essence of philosophy is that a man should so live that his happiness shall depend as little as possible on external things. Epictetus. The search for happiness is one of the chief sources of unhappiness. Eric Hoffer. The greatest happiness of life is the conviction that we are loved, loved for ourselves, or rather, loved in spite of ourselves. Victor Hugo. The greatest happiness you can have is knowing that you do not necessarily require happiness. William Saroyan. The habit of being happy enables one to be freed, or largely freed, from the domination of outward conditions. Robert Louis Stevenson. The Constitution only guarantees the American people the right to pursue happiness. You have to catch it yourself. Author unknown, commonly attributed to Benjamin Franklin. The best way to cheer yourself up is to try to cheer somebody else up. Mark Twain. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Marcus Aurelius. There are two things to aim at in life: first, to get what you want, and after that, to enjoy it. Only the wisest of mankind achieve the second. Logan Pearsall Smith. There is no happiness like that of being loved by your fellow creatures, and feeling that your presence is an addition to their comfort. Charlotte Bronte. There is only one happiness in this life, to love and be loved. George Sand. There can be no happiness if the things we believe in are different from the things we do. Freya Stark. There are two ways of being happy: we must either diminish our wants or augment our means. Either may do. the result is the same, and it is for each man to decide for himself and to do that which happens to be easier. Benjamin Franklin. There is no way to happiness, happiness is the way. Thich Nhat Hanh. There is no cosmetic for beauty like happiness. Lady Blessington. There is some kind of a sweet innocence in being human, in not having to be just happy or just sad, in the nature of being able to be both broken and whole, at the same time. C. Joy Bell. C. Those who can laugh without cause have either found the true meaning of happiness or have gone stark raving mad. Norm Papernick. 3 grand essentials to happiness in this life are something to do, something to love, and something to hope for. Joseph Addison. To be without some of the things you want is an indispensable part of happiness. Bertrand Russell. To be happy, you must fancy that everything you have is a gift, and you the chosen, though you worked your tail off for every bit of it. Robert Brault. To enjoy good health, to bring true happiness to one's family, to bring peace to all, one must first discipline and control one's own mind. If a man can control his mind, he can find the way to enlightenment, and all wisdom and virtue will naturally come to him. Buddha. Too often in life, something happens and we blame other people for us not being happy or satisfied or fulfilled. So the point is, we all have choices, and we make the choice to accept people or situations or to not accept situations. Tom Brady. True happiness is not attained through self-gratification, but through fidelity to a worthy purpose. Helen Keller. Unquestionably, it is possible to do without happiness. It is done involuntarily by 19/20ths of mankind. John Stuart Mill. Ups and downs. Victories and defeats. Sadness and happiness. That's the best kind of life. Maxime Lagache. We all live with the objective of being happy. Our lives are all different and yet the same. Anne Frank. We are no longer happy so soon as we wish to be happier. Walter Savage Landor. We can't control the world. We can only, barely, control our own reactions to it. Happiness is largely a choice, not a right or entitlement. David C. Hill. We tend to forget that happiness doesn't come as a result of getting something we don't have, but rather of recognizing and appreciating what we do have. Frederick Koenig. We cannot be happy if we expect to live all the time at the highest peak of intensity. Happiness is not a matter of intensity but of balance and order and rhythm and harmony. Thomas Merton. We have no more right to consume happiness without producing it than to consume wealth without producing it. George Bernard Shaw. When neither their property nor their honor is touched, the majority of men live content. Niccolo Machiavelli. Who is the happiest of men? He who values the merits of others, and in their pleasure takes joy, even as though it were his own. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. Whoever is happy will make others happy. Anne Frank. You cannot protect yourself from sadness without protecting yourself from happiness. Jonathan Safran Foer. You don't develop courage by being happy in your relationships every day. You develop it by surviving difficult times and challenging adversity. Epicurus. You can't be happy unless you're unhappy sometimes. Lauren Oliver. You will never be happy if you continue to search for what happiness consists of. You will never live if you are looking for the meaning of life. Albert Camus. You can only have bliss if you don't chase it. Hanapala Gunaratana. Happiness quotes at personaldevelopfit.com/quotes-about-happiness 1. 7 steps to happiness. Think less, feel more. Frown less, smile more. Talk less, listen more. Judge less, accept more. Watch less, do more. Complain less, appreciate more. Fear less, move more. A smile is happiness you'll find right under your nose. Tom Wilson. A happy or unhappy life is your own creation. Sri S. Sachidananda. A life of happiness, peace, and love is all within our grasp. Steve Maraboli. A happy person is not a person in a certain set of circumstances, but rather a person with a certain set of attitudes. Hugh Downs. A large income is the best recipe for happiness I ever heard of. Jane Austen. A quiet secluded life in the country, with the possibility of being useful to people to whom it is easy to do good, and who are accustomed to have it done to them, then work which one hopes may be of some use, then rest, nature, books, music, love for one's neighbor. Such is my idea of happiness. Leo Tolstoy. A woman's happiness is throwing everything away to live for love. Ai Yazawa. A piece of happiness should never be taken as due. Charlene Harris. Acceptance means no complaining, and happiness means no complaining about the things over which you can do nothing. Wayne W. Dyer. Action may not always bring happiness, but there is no happiness without action. William James. Actual happiness always looks pretty squalid in comparison with the overcompensations of misery. And of course, stability isn't nearly so spectacular as instability. And being contented has none of the glamour of a good fight against misfortune, none of the picturesqueness of a struggle with temptation, or a fatal overthrow by passion or doubt. Happiness is never grand. Aldous Huxley. Ah, what happiness it is to be with people who are all happy, to press hands, press cheeks, smile into eyes. Catherine Mansfield. All happiness depends on courage and work. Honore de Balzac. All who joy and win must share it. Happiness was born a twin. George Gordon Byron. All things, even the deepest sorrow or the most profound happiness, are all temporary. Hope is fuel for the soul. Without hope, forward motion ceases. Landon Parham. Allow yourself to enjoy each happy moment in your life. Steve Maraboli. Always remember to be happy because you never know who's falling in love with your smile. Always find opportunities to make someone smile, and to offer random acts of kindness in everyday life. Roy T. Bennett. Always remember to be happy because you never know who's falling in love with your smile. Any intelligent person knows that life is a beautiful thing and that the purpose of life is to be happy. Orhan Pamuk. Art is unquestionably one of the purest and highest elements in human happiness. It trains the mind through the eye, and the eye through the mind. As sun colors flowers, so does our color life. John Lubbock. At any given moment, the choice to be happy is present. We just have to choose to be happy. Steve Maraboli. At the end of the day, happiness, joy, and yes, your emotional stability, those comprise the only measuring stick you really need to have. Sherry Argoff. Attitude is a choice. Happiness is a choice. Optimism is a choice. Kindness is a choice. Giving is a choice. Respect is a choice. Whatever choice you make makes you. Choose wisely. Roy T. Bennett. Be happy. It's one way of being wise. Colette. Be happy. It drives people crazy. Be so happy that when others look at you, they become happy too. Be happy. Not because everything is perfect, but because you choose to focus on the perfect moments. Be happy with what you have. Be excited about what you want. Alan Cohen. Be happy not because everything is good, but because you can see the good side of everything. Be happy for no reason, like a child. If you are happy for a reason, you're in trouble, because that reason can be taken from you. Deepak Chopra. Be happy and a reason will come along. Be happy for this moment is your life. Be kind whenever it is possible. Dalai Lama. Be happy. Be who you want to be. If others don't like it, let them be. As the saying goes, happiness is a choice. Life isn't about pleasing everybody. Be happy, you never know how much time you have left. Be sure to notice when you're happy. Brenda Ferrara-Gmai. Be happy. If you're not even happy, what's so good about surviving? Tom Stoppard. Be believing, be happy, don't get discouraged. Things will work out. Gordon B. Hinckley. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Pharrell Williams. Being happy isn't having everything in your life be perfect. Maybe it's about stringing together all the little things, and brash areas. Being happy never goes out of style. Lily Pulitzer. Being happy is the greatest form of success. Being alive is good, being alive should already make you happy, Lee Hirsch-Kavish. Best way to stay happy is to be busy, Deepika Agarwal. But happiness cannot be pursued, it must ensue. One must have a reason to be happy. Once the reason is found, however, one becomes happy automatically, Viktor E. Frankl. But I see nothing miraculous about it. Nothing makes one as healthy as happiness, and there is no greater happiness than making someone else happy, Stefan Zweig. But the happiest people are the ones who understand that good things occur when one allows them to, Danny Wallace. Cake is happiness. If you know the way of the cake, you know the way of happiness. If you can have a cake in front of you, you shouldn't look any further for joy, see. Joy Bell C. Carrying about the happiness of others, we find our own, Plato. Changing your outside world cannot make you happy if you are an unhappy person. The real personal change can only happen from the inside out. If you firstly created the change within yourself, you can turn your life around, Roy T. Bennett. Children are happy because they don't have a file in their minds called all the things that could go wrong, Marianne Williamson. Contentment is the foundation of true happiness. The happiness that comes from fulfilling desires can never be permanent, RVM. Create all the happiness you are able to create, remove all the misery you are able to remove. Every day will invite you to add something to the pleasures of others, or to diminish something of their pains, Jeremy Bentham. Cry, forgive, learn. Move on. Let your tears water the seeds of your future happiness, Steve Marbola. Deal with your problems before they deal with your happiness. Do what makes you happy, be with those who make you smile, laugh as much as you breathe and love as long as you live. Do not let your happiness depend on something you may lose, C.S. Lewis. Doing what you like is freedom, like what you do is happiness. Do not look for happiness outside yourself. The awakened seek happiness inside, Peter Diunov. Don't let the silly things steal your happiness. Don't waste a minute not being happy. If one door closes, run to the next window or break down a door, Brooke Shields. Don't wait around for other people to be happy for you. Any happiness you get you've to make yourself, Alice Walker. Don't think too much, just do more of what makes you happy. Don't let success determine your happiness, but instead let your happiness determine your success, Salah Barhum. Don't set aside your happiness. Do not wait to be happy in the future. The best time to be happy is always now, Roy T. Bennett. Don't put off happiness you can have today. Tomorrow is a hope, not a promise, Deborah Anastasia. Each morning when I open my eyes I say to myself, I, not events, have the power to make me happy or unhappy today, Groucho Marx. Entertainment is temporary happiness, but the real happiness is permanent entertainment, Amit Kalantri. Envy nobody. It is the true secret of happiness, or at least the only one I know. Peter S. Beagle. Even if happiness forgets you a little bit, never completely forget about it, Jacques Prévert. Even if you cannot change all the people around you, you can change the people who you choose to be around. Life is too short to waste your time on people who don't respect, appreciate, and value you. Spend your life with people who make you smile, laugh, and feel loved, Roy T. Bennett. Ever since happiness has heard your name, it has been running through the streets trying to find you, Hafez. Every little smile can touch somebody's heart. No one is born happy, but all of us are born with the ability to create happiness. Every day is a new day and you'll never be able to find happiness if you don't move on, Carrie Underwood. Everyone wants happiness, no one wants pain. But you can't have a rainbow without a little rain. Everyone chases happiness, not noticing that happiness is at their heels, Bertolt Brecht. Everyone wants to live on the top of the mountain, but all the happiness and growth occurs while you're climbing it, Andy Rooney. Expect, more get less and feel sadness, or expect less get more and feel happiness, Vijay D'Amelia. Find out where joy resides and give it a voice fair beyond singing. For though miss the joy is to miss all, Robert Louis Stevenson. Finding happiness should not be as seen as finding a needle in a haystack. Happiness is within. Each day is a blessing that brings an abundance of happiness. Therefore, finding happiness should be like finding a gift in a stack of gifts, Steve Maraboli. Folks are about as happy as they make their minds up to be, Abraham Lincoln. For every minute you are angry, you lose 60 seconds of happiness, Ralph Waldo Emerson. For those who are poor in happiness, each time is a first time, happiness never becomes a habit, Marilyn Monroe. Force yourself to smile. Act as if you were already happy, and that will tend to make you happy, Celeste Ng. Free yourself from the complexities of your life. A life of simplicity and happiness awaits you, Steve Maraboli. Generally speaking, the most miserable people I know are those who are obsessed with themselves. The happiest people I know are those who lose themselves in service of others. By and large, I have come to see that if we complain about life, it is because we are thinking only of ourselves, Gordon B. Hinckley. Genuine happiness can only be achieved when we transform our way of life from the unthinking pursuit of pleasure to one committed to enriching our inner lives, when we focus on being more rather than simply having more. Daisaku Ikeda. Give happiness, patience, kindness, and care, and pain goes away. Then love remains, Tsulku. Go home and base your happiness on one thing and one thing only, freedom. Choose freedom, not suffering. Create a life of freedom, not wanting, Laura Musin. God favors men and women who delight in being made worthy of happiness before the happiness itself, Chris Jamie. Gratitude always comes into play. Research shows that people are happier if they are grateful for the positive things in their lives, rather than worrying about what might be missing, Dan Buettner. Happiness is a choice, not a result. Nothing will make you happy until you choose to be happy. Happiness is your nature. It is not wrong to desire it. What is wrong is seeking it outside when it is inside, Sri Ramana Maharshi. Happiness is the new rich. Inner peace is the new success. Health is the new wealth. Kindness is the new cool, Syed Baqi. Happiness is the secret to all beauty. There is no beauty without happiness, Christian Dior. Happiness is not a destination, it's a way of life. Happiness will not come to those who don't appreciate what they already have. Happiness radiates like the fragrance from a flower and draws all good things towards you, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. Happiness depends on ourselves, Aristotle. Happiness is an inside job. Don't assign anyone else that much power of your life, Mandy Hale. Happiness never decreases by being shared, the 14th Dalai Lama. Happiness isn't about getting what you want all the time, it's about loving what you have and being grateful for it. Happiness is not a goal, it's a byproduct of a life well lived, Eleanor Roosevelt. Happiness simply cannot be relied upon as a measure of success, John C. Maxwell. Happiness is not having a lot. Happiness is giving a lot, Buddhist saying. Happiness does not depend on what you have or who you are, it solely relies on what you think. Happiness is a choice, not a result. Nothing will make you happy until you choose to be happy. No person will make you happy unless you decide to be happy. Your happiness will not come to you. It can only come from you, Ralph Marston. Happiness is such an incredible advantage in our life. When the human brain is positive, our intelligence rises, we stop diverting resources to think about anxiety, Sean Aker. Happiness is intrinsic, it's an internal thing. When you build it into yourself, no external circumstances can take it away, Leo Buscaglia. Happiness comes from within and it is found in the present moment by making peace with the past and looking forward to the future. Happiness is brief. It will not stay. God batters at its sails, Euripides. Happiness is not something you postpone for the future, it is something you design for the present. Happiness doesn't have to be chased, it merely has to be chosen. Mandy Hale. Happiness is not the absence of problems, it's the ability to deal with the. Happiness is an attitude. We either make ourselves miserable or happy and strong. The amount of work is the same. Carlos Castaneda. Happiness is not in things. It is in you. Robert Holden. Happiness is being with an old friend after a long time and feeling like nothing has changed. Happiness is the struggle towards a summit, and, when it is attained, it is happiness to glimpse new summits on the other side. Fridtjof Nansen. Happiness is the consequence of personal effort. You fight for it, strive for it, insist upon it, and sometimes even travel around the world looking for it. You have to participate relentlessly in the manifestation of your own blessings. And once you have achieved a state of happiness, you must never become lax about maintaining it. You must take a mighty effort to keep swimming upward into that happiness forever, to stay afloat on top of it. Preet Lael. Happiness quotes at personaldevelopfit.com/quotes-about-happiness too. Happiness is an inside job. Happiness comes when we stop complaining about the troubles we have and say thanks to God for the troubles we don't. Happiness is a conscious choices, not an automatic response. Happiness is like those palaces in fairy tales whose gates are guarded by dragons. We must fight in order to conquer it. Alexander Dumas. Happiness is the only thing that multiplies when you share it. Albert Schweitzer. Happiness, like unhappiness, is a proactive choice. Stephen R. Covey. Happiness can be found in the darkest of times if one only remembers to turn on the light. Albus Dumbledore. Happiness is holding someone in your arms and knowing you hold the whole world. Orhan Pamuk. Happiness doesn't always come from a pursuit. Sometimes it comes when we least expect. Dalai Lama. Happiness and self-confidence come naturally when you feel yourself moving and progressing toward becoming the very best person you can possibly be. Brian Tracy. Happiness is not something ready-made. It comes from your own actions. Dalai Lama. Happiness is a choice, not by chance. Happiness is like a butterfly. The more you chase it, the more it will elude you. But if you turn your attention to other things, it will come and sit softly on your shoulder. Happiness is making your dreams come true. Jordan Dunn. Happiness always looks small while you hold it in your hands, but let it go, and you learn at once how big and precious it is. Happiness is a mindset for your journey, not the result of your destination. Sean Aker. Happiness can exist only in acceptance. George Orwell. Happiness is a perfume you cannot pour on others without getting some on yourself. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Happiness is a choice. You are the only person who can make you happy. You're as happy as you choose to be. Rick Warren. Happiness often sneaks through a door you didn't know you left open. John Barrymore. Happiness quite unshared can scarcely be called happiness. It has no taste. Charlotte Bronte. Happiness is found when you stop comparing yourself to other people. Happiness is within. It has nothing to do with how much applause you get or how many people praise you. Happiness comes when you believe that you have done something truly meaningful. Martin Yan. Happiness is a place between too much and too little. Finnish proverb. Happiness is the absence of the striving for happiness. Zhuangzi. Happiness is a direction, not a place. Sidney J. Harris. Happiness is spending time with people you love and creating memories that last a lifetime. Happiness is a state of mind, a choice, a way of living. It is not something to be achieved, it is something to be experienced. Steve Maraboli. Happiness is only real when shared. Christopher McCandless. Happiness is a choice. You can choose to be happy. There's going to be stress in life, but it's your choice whether you let it affect you or not. Valerie Bertinelli. Happiness is not a life without pain, but rather a life in which the pain is traded for a worthy price. Orson Scott Card. Happiness isn't always measured by the person you're with, it's by the person within yourself, Damien Staffone. Happiness is a choice, not a result. Nothing will make you happy until you choose to be happy. Happiness is not in the mere possession of money, it lies in the joy of achievement, in the thrill of creative effort. Franklin Roosevelt. Happiness is such a fragile thing, isn't it? So easily burst like a bubble blown by a child and always on the verge of being carried away. Nina Campbell. Happiness is an accident of nature, a beautiful and flawless aberration. Pat Conroy. Happiness is the best makeup. Drew Barrymore. Happiness is a choice that requires effort at times. Aeschylus. Happiness is not the belief that we don't need to change, it's the realization that we can. Sean Aker. Happiness isn't something that depends on our surroundings. It's something we make inside ourselves. Corrie ten Boom. Happiness cannot be traveled to, owned, earned, worn or consumed. Happiness is the spiritual existence of living every minute with love, grace, and gratitude. Dennis Waitley. Happiness is not a matter of intensity but of balance, order, rhythm, and harmony. Thomas Merton. Happiness exists only if you have a lot of people to share it with. Robin Kapoor. Happiness is not out there, it's in you. Happiness comes in waves, it'll find you again. Happiness is the meaning and purpose of life. The whole aim and end of human existence. Aristotle. Happiness lies in good health and a bad memory. Ingrid Bergman. Happiness doesn't depend on any external circumstances, it is governed by our mental attitude. Dale Carnegie. Happiness is having a large, loving, caring, close-knit family in another city. George Burns. Happiness is what you think, what you say and what you do are in harmony. Happiness is enjoying the little things in life. Happiness is all about perspective. The reason people find it so hard to be happy is because they always see the past better than it was and the present worse than it is. Mr. Bolergo. Happiness is found in the simplest of things. Happiness is found in gratitude, in a kept promise, in a good conversation, in love, in friendship, in an achieved goal, in a fond memory. In all the simple magnificence of life. Dr. Steve Marbola. Happiness alone can make us momentarily larger than ourselves. Kiran Kagarkar. Happiness isn't something you experience, it's something you remember. Oscar Levant. Happiness is not something that you postpone for the future. Jim Rohn. Happiness is the consequence of personal effort. You fight for it, strive for it, insist upon it, and sometimes even travel around the world looking for it. You have to participate relentlessly in the manifestation of your own blessings. Elizabeth Gilbert. Happiness is not a brilliant climax to years of grim struggle and anxiety. It is a long success of little decisions simply to be happy in the moment. Goswami Kriyananda. Happiness is that state of consciousness which proceeds from the achievement of one's values. Ayn Rand. Happiness is not a possession to be prized, it is the quality of thought, a state of mind. Daphne du Maurier. Happiness is part of who we are. Joy is the feeling. Tony DeLiso. Happiness is fleeting and life is brief, but we know that, nonetheless, life can be savored and that happiness, ever of the ecstatic kind, is available to us. Christopher Hitchens. Happiness doesn't come from achievements, or money, or any sort of pleasure. Happiness is a frame of mind, not a destination. It's appreciating what you've got and building relationships around you. Jeanette Rawlinson. Happiness is always a choice. You can wait for circumstances to get better. You have to create your own good fortune. So look for ways to be happy every day. Joel Osteen. Happiness is letting go of what you think your life is supposed to look like. Happiness is inside you, not with another person. John Lennon. Happiness exists when you don't know a thing. The Weeknd. Happiness, not in another place but this place, not for another hour, but this hour. Walt Whitman. Happiness makes up for height what it lacks in length. Robert Frost. Happiness is having freedom to do what you love. A.G. Stranger. Happiness is letting go of what you think your life is supposed to look like and celebrating it for everything that it is. Mandy Hale. Happiness starts with you. Not with your relationships, your joy, money. Happiness starts with you. Happiness doesn't result from what we get, but what we give. Ben Carson. Happiness is based on a just discrimination of what is necessary, what is neither necessary nor destructive, and what is destructive. Ursula K. Le Guin. Happiness is a state of mind. It's just according to the way you look at things. Walt Disney Company. Happiness is something you lay siege to, it is a battle like a game of Go. It will take hold of all the pain and snuff it out. Shan S.A. Happiness comes in many forms, in the company of good friends, in the feeling you get when you make someone else's dream come true, or in the promise of hope renewed. It's okay to let yourself be happy because you never know how fleeting that happiness might be. Lucas Scott. Happiness is the soul that has a friend. Happier is the soul that trusts in the truth of the heart of a friend. Happiest is the soul that knows the solemnity of friendship and honors its laws. Agwo David Eminek. Happiness comes from you. No one else can make you happy. Beyoncé. Happiness isn't a thing. You can't go out and get it like a cup of tea, it's the way you feel about things. Diana Wynne Hones. Happiness is always a byproduct. It is probably a matter of temperament, and for anything I know it may be glandular. But it is not something that can be demanded from life, and if you are not happy, you better stop worrying about it and see what treasures you can pluck from your own brand of unhappiness. Robertson Davies. Happiness is not something you can find, acquire, or achieve directly. You have to get the conditions right and then wait. Some of those conditions are within you, such as coherence among the parts and levels of your personality. Other conditions require relationships to things beyond you. Just as plants need sun, water, and good soil to thrive, people need love, work, and connection to something larger. Jonathan Haidt. Happiness is a state of non-contradictory joy, a joy without penalty or guilt, a joy that does not clash with any of your values and does not work for your own destruction, not the joy of escaping your mind, but of using your mind's fullest poser, not the joy of faking reality, but of achieving values that are real, not the joy of a drunkard but of a producer. Ayn Rand. Happiness must happen, and the same holds for success. You have to let it happen by not caring about it. I want to listen to what your conscience commands you to do and go on to carry it out the best of your knowledge. Then you will live to see in the long run. In the long run, I say, success will follow you precisely because you had forgotten to think about it. Viktor E. Frankl. Happiness must be grown in one's own garden. Mary Engelbreit. Happiness does not come from a job. It comes from knowing what you truly value, and behaving in a way that's consistent with those beliefs. Mike Rowe. Happiness is the best revenge. Jackie Kane. Happiness is not a state of arrive at, but a manner of traveling. Margaret Lee Runbeck. Happiness is an allegory, unhappiness a story. Haruki Murakami. Happiness is inseparably connected with decent, clean behavior. Boyd K. Packer. Happiness is the brightest form of self-respect. A person who allows himself to be happy shows his self-respect. Mary Rubin. Happiness and confidence are the prettiest things you can wear. Taylor Swift. Happiness is something we reap from the seeds we sow. Plant misery seeds and that is what you reap. Stephen Richards. Happiness is not only a hope, but also in some strange manner a memory. We are all kings in exile. G.K. Chesterton. Happiness is attained, not through self-interest, but through unconditional fidelity in endless love of eternal light. Aaron Cohen. Happiness is found in doing, no merely possessing. Napoleon Hill. Happiness is a warm puppy. Charles M. Schultz. Happiness consists not of having, but of being, not of possessing, but of enjoying. It is a warm glow of the heart at peace with itself. A martyr at the stake may have happiness that a king on this throne might envy. Man is the creator of his own happiness. It is the aroma of life, lived in harmony with high ideas. For what a man has he may be dependent upon others, what he is rests him alone. David O. McKay. Happiness consists in always aspiring perfection. The pause in any level in perfection is the pause of happiness. Leon Tolstoy. Happiness is the object and design of our existence and will be the end thereof. If we pursue the path that leads to it, and this path is virtue, uprightness, faithfulness, holiness, and keeping all the commandments of God. Joseph Smith. Happiness is a strange thing. It is something I tend to recognize only after it has passed, when I realize I missed it. Claire Holden Rothman. Happiness is spiritual, born of truth and love. It is unselfish, therefore it cannot exist alone, but requires all mankind to share it. Mary Baker. Happiness is welcome, agreeable, pleasant and hard to obtain in the world. Buddha. Happiness is the feeling we experience when we are too busy to be miserable. Thomas L. Masson. Happiness in this world, when it comes, come incidentally. Make it the object of pursuit, and it leads us a wild goose chase, and it is never attained. Follow some other object and very possibly, we may find that we have caught happiness without dreaming of it. Nathaniel Hawthorne. Happiness is not a state of being. Happiness is a vector, it is movement. Neil Shusterman. Happiness is like a cat. If you try to coax it or call it, it will avoid you. It will never come. But if you pay no attention to it and go about your business, you'll find it rubbing up against your legs and jumping into your lap. William J. Bennett. Happiness can only be achieved by looking inward and learning to enjoy whatever life has, and this requires transforming greed into gratitude. John Chrysostom. Happiness is a state of activity. Aristotle. Happiness comes from righteous living and development of a noble character. You can observe this by noticing that people who are truly happy and honest, unselfish, kind, responsible, and have a high moral standards. Helen B. Andelin. Happiness is excitement that has found a settling down place, but there is always a little corner that keeps flapping around. E.L. Königsberg. Happiness is what you choose, what you follow, not what follows you. These are the things I have seen, these are the things I now know, these are the things I will carry with me as I go. Alison Wynne Scotch. Happiness grows at our firesides, and is not to be picked in strangers' gardens. Douglas Jerrold. Happiness will grow if you plant the seeds of love in the garden of hope with compassion and care. Debsi Shmridha. Happiness comes from within. It is not dependent on external things or on other people. You become vulnerable and can be easily hurt when your feelings of security and happiness depend on the behavior and actions of other people. Never give your power to anyone else. Brian Weiss. Happiness and the absurd are two sons of the same earth. They are inseparable. Albert Camus. Happiness resides in the imaginative reflection and judgment, when the picture of one's life, or of human life, as it truly has been or is, satisfies the will, and is gladly accepted. George Santayana. Happiness, it has been observed, is best achieved by those who have been most unhappy heretofore. Millard Kaufman. Happiness is not a situation to be longed for or a convergence of lucky happenstance. Through the power of our minds, we can help ourselves. Wayne Coyne. Happiness doesn't lie in conspicuous consumption and the relentless amassing of useless crap. Happiness lies in the person sitting beside you and your ability to talk to them. Happiness is clear-headed human interaction and empathy. Happiness is home. And home is not a house, home is a mythological conceit. It is a state of mind. A place of communion and unconditional love. It is where you cross its threshold, you finally feel at peace. Dennis Lehane. Happiness is the most natural thing in the world when you have it, and the slowest, strangest, most impossible thing when you don't. It's like learning a foreign language. You can think about the words all you want, but you'll never be able to speak it until you suck up your courage and say them out loud. Dan Wells. Happiness. It comes on unexpectedly and goes beyond, really any early morning talk about it, Raymond Carver. Happy thoughts fill your life with happiness. Happy people produce, bored people consume, Stephen Richards. Having a low opinion of yourself is not modesty. It's self-destruction. Holding your uniqueness in high regard is not egotism. It's a necessary precondition to happiness and success, Bobby Sommer. He who has felt the deepest grief is best able to experience supreme happiness, Alexander Dumas. Health is hearty, health is harmony, health is happiness, Amit Kalantri. Helping others is the secret sauce to a happy life, Todd Stocker. Here is a commandment for you, seek happiness in sorrow. Work tirelessly, Fyodor Dostoevsky. Hope smiles from the threshold of years to come, whispering, it will be happier, Alfred Lord Tennyson. How often is happiness destroyed by preparation, foolish preparation, Jane Austen. Human happiness is defined by the hardships and conflicts you have been through. The greater they are, the greater is your happiness, Peter Dionov. Human happiness and moral duty are inseparably connected, George Washington. Hurt is a part of life. To be honest, I think hurt is a part of happiness, that our definition of happiness has gotten very narrow lately, very nervous, a little afraid of this brawling, fabulous, unpredictable world, Julian Goff. I heard a definition once, happiness is health and a short memory. I wish I'd invented it because it is very true, Audrey Hepburn. I believe there is a kind of happiness to be found in everything in life, in all that is good and pleasing, as well as in that which is sad or poignant, Syria James. I shall take the heart. For brains do not make one happy, and happiness is the best thing in the world, L. Frank Baum. I want to make myself so happy that others get happy just looking at me, Yogi Bhajan. I, not events, have the power to make me happy or unhappy today. I can choose which it shall be. Yesterday is dead, tomorrow hasn't arrived yet. I have just one day, today, and I am going to be happy in it. Groucho Marx. I am very happy because I have conquered myself. And not the world. I am very happy because I loved the world and not myself, Sri Chinmoy. I just woke up feeling happy this morning. You know those days when everything in the world seems right? Agatha Christie. I think happiness is what makes you pretty. Period. Happy people are beautiful people, Drew Barrymore. I wish for happiness like this forever, Charity Barnum. I think we like to complicate things when it is really quite simple. Find what it is that makes you happy and who it is that makes you happy. And you're set. Promise, Jennifer Brower. I discovered that joy is not the negotiation of pain, but rather acknowledge the presence of pain and feeling in spite of it, Lupita Nyong. I think the key to life is just being a happy person, and happiness will bring you success, Diego Val. I guess money can't buy you happiness if you shop in the wrong places, Nora Roberts. I don't know that your destiny will be, but one thing I know, the only ones among you who will be really happy are those who have sought and found how to serve, Albert Schweitzer. I don't care how much I give to make others happy. It makes me happy too. Terry Mark. I still believe that peace and plenty and happiness can be worked out in some way, Kurt Vonnegut. I am not proud, but I am happy and happiness blinds, I think more than pride, Alexander Dumas. I find no importance in showing others that I am happy. It's not important to me that they know or think I am happy, but what is important to me is that I am happy. I am interested in being happy, not in making others think or know I am, see. Joy Bell C. I willingly allow that money does not guarantee happiness, but it must also be allowed that it makes happiness a great deal easier to achieve, Pierre A.F. Collarlos. I believe compassion to be one of the few things we can practice that will bring immediate and long-term happiness to our lives. I'm not talking about the short-term gratification of pleasures like sex, drugs, gambling, thought. I'm not knocking them, but something that will bring true and lasting happiness. The kind that sticks. Dalai Lama. I must learn to be content and happier than I deserve. Jane Austen. I don't think there are any limits on how excellent we could make life seem. Jonathan Safran Foer. I think and think and think. I've thought myself out of happiness 1,000,000 times, but never once into it. Jonathan Safran Foer. I like to believe that you don't need to reach a certain goal to be happy. I prefer to think that happiness is always there, and that when things don't go the way we might like them to, it's a sign from above that something even better is right around the corner. David Archuleta. I think people would be happier if they admitted things more often. In a sense, we are all prisoners of some memory, or fear, or disappointment. We are all defined by something we can't change. Simon Van Buy. I do not think we have the right to happiness. If happiness happens, say thanks. Marlene Dietrich. I believe that being happy is the only important thing. Joanne Harris. I felt once more how simple and frugal a thing is happiness: a glass of wine, a roast chestnut, a wretched little brazier, the sound of the sea. Nothing else. Nikos Kazantzakis. I am still determined to be cheerful and happy, in whatever situation I may be, for I have also learned from experience that the greater part of our happiness or misery depends on our dispositions and not upon our circumstances. Martha Washingo. I never understood the point of being sad when I could choose to be happy. Megan McCafferty. I always believed that happiness is just around the corner, the trick is finding the right corner. Eric Weiner. I had always been taught that the pursuit of happiness was my natural, even national, birthright. It is the emotional trademark of my culture to seek happiness. Not just any kind of happiness, either, but profound happiness, even soaring happiness. And what could possibly bring a person more soaring happiness than romantic love? Elizabeth Gilbert. I'd far rather be happy than right any day. Douglas Adams. I'm choosing happiness over suffering. I'm making space for the unknown future to fill up my life with yet to come surprises. Elizabeth Gilbert. I'm on the pursuit of happiness and I know everything that shines ain't always gonna be gold. Kid Cudi. I'm a happy person. If you want to be around me, you can either choose to be happy too, or follow the signs to the nearest exit. Sharon Swan. I've learned from experience that the greater part of our happiness or misery depends on our disposition and not on our circumstances. Martha Washington. I've got nothing to do today but smile. Simon and Garfunkel. I've come to think that happiness isn't really produced by conscious accomplishments. Happiness is a measure of how thickly the unconscious parts of our minds are intertwined with other people and with activities. Happiness is determined by how much information the affection flows through us covertly every day and year. David Brooks. I've learned that when you harbor bitterness, happiness will dock elsewhere. Andy Rooney. If you want to be happy, be. Leo Tolstoy. If you pursue happiness, you are an ordinary person. If happiness pursues you, you are an extraordinary person. Do not chase happiness, let it chase you. Peter Diunov. If you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. Dalai Lama. If you aren't grateful for what you already have, what makes you think you would be happy with more? Roy T. Bennett. If it makes you happy, no one else's opinion should matter. If you want to be happy, do not dwell in the past, do not worry about the future, focus on living fully in the present. Roy Bennett. If you want to find happiness, find gratitude. Steve Maraboli. If you feel happy, smile with all your heart. If you're down, smile with all your might. Paul Ian Guillermo. If there was one thing life has taught me, it's to accept the most foolish and unthinkable happiness. Bon Dieu. If only we'd stop trying to be happy, we could have a pretty good time. Edith Wharton. If you stay in the company of pain, anger, or hurt, happiness will find someone else to visit. Make the choice to view all of your past relationships as a gift. Throw out what hasn't worked in the past and incorporate new concepts. Focus on being happy, Kristen Crockett. In order to have great happiness, you have to have great pain and unhappiness, otherwise how would you know when you're happy? Leslie Caron. In the end, the number of prayers we say may contribute to our happiness, but the number of prayers we answer may be of even greater importance. Dieter F. Uchtdorf. In the midst of happiness or despair, in sorrow or in joy, in pleasure or in pain, do what is right and you will be at peace. Jess Rothenberg. Independence is happiness. Susan B. Anthony. It is my model of reality that determines my happiness or disappointments. Stefan Zweig. It is a happiness to wonder, it is a happiness to dream. Edgar Allan Poe. It is essential to our happiness that our way of living should spring from our own deep impulses and not from the accidental tastes and desires of those who happen to be our neighbors, or even our relations. Bertrand Russell. It is felt that a disciplined mind leads to happiness and an undisciplined mind leads to suffering. Dalai Lama. It isn't what you have or who you are or where you are or what you are doing that makes you happy or unhappy. It is what you think about. Dale Carnegie. It isn't what you have or who you are or where you are or what you are doing that makes you happy, or unhappy. It is what you think about. Dale Carnegie. It is the very mark of the spirit of rebellion to crave for happiness in this life. Henrik Ibsen. It is well to have as many holds upon happiness as possible. Jane Austen. It is impossible to build one's own happiness on the unhappiness of others. This perspective is at the heart of Buddhist teachings. Daisaku Ikeda. It makes no difference where you go, there you are. And it makes no difference what you have, there's always more to want. Until you are happy with who you are, you will never be happy because of what you have. Zig Ziglar. It is my observations thought, that happiness limits the amount of suffering one is willing to inflict upon others. Jacqueline Carey. It is almost as if happiness is an acquired taste, like coconut cordial or ceviche, to which you can eventually become accustomed. Lemonis Newicott. It is not the possession of truth, but the success which attends the seeking after it, that enriches the seeker and brings happiness to him. Max Planck. It is a kind of spiritual snobbery that makes people think they can be happy without money. Albert Camus. It is necessary to the happiness of a man that he be mentally faithful to himself. Thomas Paine. It's never too late to be happy. But it's all up to you and no one else. It's now how much we have, but how much we enjoy that makes happiness. It's not about forcing happiness. It's about not letting the sadness win. It's not selfish to love yourself, to take care of yourself and to make your happiness a priority. It's necessary. Mandy Hale. It's the little things in life. It's your job to learn that only those who quit selfishly seeking their own happiness find it. Rochelle E. Goodrich. It's what's in yourself that makes you happy or unhappy. Agatha Christie. Joy is what happens to us when we allow ourselves to recognize how good things really are. Marianne Williamson. Just because you're happy does not mean that the day is perfect but that you have looked beyond its imperfections. Bob Marley. Keep smile because life is a beautiful thing and there is so much to smile about. Marilyn Monroe. Laughter is poison for fear. George R.R. Martin. Game of Thrones. Learn how to be happy with what you have while you pursue all that you want. Jim Rohn. Learn to value yourself, which means fight for your happiness. Ayn Rand. Leave behind the passive dreaming of a rose-tinted future. The energy of happiness exists in living today with roots sunk firmly in reality's soil. Daisaku Ikeda. Let today be the day you free yourself from the conditioned rules that limit your happiness and dilute the beautiful life experience. Have fun. Give. Love. Play. Steve Maraboli. Let us be grateful to the people who make us happy, they are the charming gardeners who make our souls blossom. Marcel Proust. Let no one ever come to you without leaving better and happier. Be the living expression of God's kindness. Kindness in your face, in your eyes, kindness in your smile. Mother Teresa. Let's make the most of what we have and not let future pain ruin present happiness. Orson Scott Card. Letting go gives us freedom, and freedom is the only condition for happiness. If, in our heart, we still cling to anything, anger, anxiety, or possessions, we cannot be free. Thich Nhat Hanh. Life is so much better when you're laughing. Life is better when you are happy, but life is best when other people are happy because of you. Be an inspiration, give peace, share your smile. Life is full of happiness and tears. Be strong and have faith. Kareena Kapoor Khan. Life is about finding the ones that make you happy and freeing yourself from those who don't. Life is short. Break the rules, forgive quickly, kiss slowly, love truly, laugh uncontrollably, and never forget anything that makes you smile. Mark Twain. Life is short. Always choose happiness. Life is short and precious. Enjoy every moment well. Happiness and sadness are part of our lives. Live it with a graceful heart. Time is free. But it's priceless. You can't own it, but you can use it. You can't keep it, but you can spend it. Once you've lost it, you can never get it back. Live for the moments you can't put into words. Live your life. Be happy as you can be, let go of things that don't matter, and fight. Kiera Cass. Love is not a feeling of happiness. Love is a willingness to sacrifice. Michael Novak. Love your life. That's a direct route to something people used to call happiness. Clementine Holzinger. Love and compassion are the mother and father of a smile. We need to create more smiles in our world today. Smiles, after all, pave the way to a happy world. Steve Maraboli. Make this the time you throw away old habits that have hindered your happiness and success and finally allow your greatest self to flourish. Steve Maraboli. Make your anger so expensive that no one can afford it, and make your happiness so cheap that people can almost get it free. Man only likes to count his troubles, he doesn't calculate his happiness. Fyodor Dostoevsky. Many people think excitement is happiness, but when you are excited you are not peaceful. True happiness is based on peace. Thich Nhat Hanh. Many of us seem to live our lives looking for happiness. That is not always a bad thing, but it can be if we continually believe that happiness is someplace else and not in the present. Barbara Barrington Jones. May those who follow their fate be granted happiness, may those who defy it be granted glory. Mizuo Shinono. Maybe it's not about the happy ending, maybe it's about the story. Maybe this is a characteristic of happy people. An ability to be entertained by the world. Claire Morale. Maybe you think you'll be entitled to more happiness later by foregoing all of it now, but it doesn't work that way. Happiness takes as much practice as unhappiness does. It's by living that you live more. By waiting, you wait more. Every waiting day makes your life a little less. Every lonely day makes you a little smaller. Every day you put off your life makes you less capable of living it. Ambrose Hares. Maybe happiness is this, not feeling that you should be elsewhere, doing something else, being someone else. Eric Weiner. Money can't buy happiness, but it certainly is a stress reliever. Besa Kosova. Happiness quotes at personaldevelopfit.com/quotes-about-happiness 3. Money does not buy you happiness, but lack of money certainly buys you misery. Daniel Kahneman. Most people would rather be certain they're miserable, than risk being happy. Robert Anthony. Most smiles are started by another smile. Frank A. Clark. My happiness has to come from within myself, or it is too fragile a thing to be of any use to me and too much of a burden to benefit any of my loved ones. Mary Baylock. My happiness grows in direct proportion to my acceptance and inverse proportion to my expectations. Michael J. Fox. My advice to you is get married. If you find a good wife you'll be happy, if not, you'll become a philosopher. Socrates. Never let the sadness of your past and the fear of your future ruin the happiness of your present. Never put the key to your happiness in someone else's pocket. No one is in charge of your happiness except you. No medicine cures what happiness cannot. Gabriel Garcia Marquez. No matter what I choose to become, I believe I can change the world. And as I am striving to change the world, I will be happy. Sam Burns. No God, no happiness. No God, no happiness. Nothing is worth it if you're not happy. Nothing makes a person happier than having a happy heart. Roy T. Bennett. Nothing is miserable unless you think it so, and on the other hand, nothing brings happiness unless you are content with it. Boethius. Nothing in the world can make you happy, everything in the world can encourage you to be happy. Robert Holden. Now and then it's good to pause in our pursuit of happiness and just be happy. Of all the means to ensure happiness throughout the whole life, by far the most important is the acquisition of friends. Epicurus. Of all forms of caution, caution is in love is perhaps the most fatal to true happiness. Bertrand Russell. One happiness scatters 1,000 sorrows. Chinese proverb. One happiness scatters 1,000 sorrows. Chinese proverb. One is happy once one knows that necessary ingredients of happiness, simple tastes, a certain degree of courage, self-denial to a point, love of work and above all, a clear conscience. George Sand. One of the simplest ways to stay happy is to let go of all things that make you sad. One of the keys to happiness is a bad memory. Rita Mae Brown. One swallow does not make a summer, neither does one fine day. Similarly, one day or brief time of happiness does not make a person entirely happy. Aristotle. Only the development of compassion and understanding for others can bring us the tranquility and happiness we all seek. Dalai Lama 14. Our happiness is completely and utterly intertwined with other people, family and friends and neighbors and the woman you hardly notice who cleans your office. Happiness is not a noun or verb. It's a conjunction. Connective tissue. Eric Weiner. Our days are happier when we give people a bit of our heart rather than a piece of our mind. Overthinking kills your happiness. People with the most interests live, not only longest, but happiest. George Matthew Allen. People who can change and change again are so much more reliable and happier than those who can't. Stephen Fry. People are unhappy when they get something too easily. You have to sweat, that's the only moral they know. Denis Lafourière. People never remember happiness with the care that they lavish on preserving every detail of their suffering. Edward St. Oben. Perfectionism is the enemy of happiness. Embrace being perfectly imperfect. Learn from your mistakes and forgive them, you'll be happier. Roy T. Bennett. Pierre was right when he said that one must believe in the possibility of happiness in order to be happy. Leo Tolstoy. Plant seeds of happiness, hope, success, and love. It will all come back to you in abundance. This is the law of nature. Steve Maraboli. Playing the victim is a toxic waste of time that not only repels other people, but also robs the victim of ever knowing true happiness. Bronnie Ware. Pleasure is the only thing one should live for, nothing ages like happiness. Oscar Wilde. Positive thinking and positive attitude attracts prosperity, peace, and happiness. It also exposes us towards the path of achievements and success. Anurag Prakash Ray. Pure joy is rare. That's why for every meal I eat a really bloody steak. Bavard. Really high-minded people are indifferent to happiness, especially other people's. Bertrand Russell. Relationships are not where you find happiness, it's where you share happiness. Vikas Runwale. Remember, we are our own griefs, my dear, we are our own happiness and we are our own remedies. Hussein Rasa. Remember, we are our own griefs, my dear, we are our own happinesses and we are our own remedies. Hussein Rasa. Sadness gives depth. Happiness gives height. Sadness gives roots. Happiness gives branches. Happiness is like a tree going into the sky, and sadness is like the roots going down into the womb of the earth. Both are needed. And the higher the tree goes, the deeper it goes, simultaneously. The bigger the tree, the bigger will be its roots. In fact, it is always in proportion. That is balance, Osho Rajneesh. Sanity and happiness are an impossible combination, Mark Twain. Science of happiness lies in our understanding. The secrets of happiness lie in our capacity to expand our heart, Amit Ray. Seize the moments of happiness, love, and be loved. That is the only reality in the world, all else is folly. It is the one thing we are interested in here, Leo Tolstoy. Share your smile with the world. It's a symbol of friendship and peace, Christy Brinkley. Simplicity makes me happy, Alicia Keys. Smile because you're beautiful, laugh because you're living life to the fullest. Stand strong because haters can't bring you down. Smile more. Smiling can make you and others happy, Roy T. Bennett. So we shall let the reader answer the question for himself, who is the happier man, he who has braved the storm of life and lived, or he who has stayed securely on shore and merely existed, Hunter S. Thompson. Sometimes life knocks you on your ass. Get up, get up, get up. Happiness is not the absence of problems, it's the ability to deal with them, Steve Maraboli. Some days are just bad days, that's all. You have to experience sadness to know happiness. And I remind myself that not every day is going to be a good day. That's just the way it is. Some of us might find happiness as we quit struggling so desperately for it. Spend your life with who makes you happy, not who you have to impress. Spread love wherever you go. Let no one ever come without leaving happier, Mother Teresa. Stop looking for happiness is the same place you lost it. Stop comparing yourself to other people, just choose to be happy and live your own life, Roy T. Bennett. Stop giving someone else the job of making you happy. Stop waiting for Friday, for summer, for someone to fall in love with you, for life. Happiness is achieved when you stop waiting for it and make the most of the moment you are in now. Stop wasting your time looking for the key to happiness, the door is open and unlocked, just walk through it, Steve Maraboli. Stop giving other people the power to control your happiness, your mind, and your life. If you don't take control of yourself and your own life, someone else is bound to try, Roy T. Bennett. Success is not the key to happiness, happiness is the key to success, Albert Schweitzer. Success in life is most easily measured by the number of days you are truly happy, Eric Edmeades. Success is getting what you want. Happiness is liking what you get, H. Jackson Brown Jr. Suffering just means you're having a bad dream. Happiness means you're having a good dream. Enlightenment means getting out of the dream altogether, Jed McKenna. Take responsibility for your own happiness, do not expect people or things to bring you happiness, or you could be disappointed, Rodolfo Costa. Taking a risk to survive isn't that impressive. Taking a risk to be happy, that takes guts, Sarah Nafka. Talking about someone who makes you happy actually makes you happy, Elizabeth Scott. That is happiness, to be dissolved into something complete and great. When it comes to one, it comes as naturally as sleep, Willa Cather. That's the difference between me and the rest of the world. Happiness isn't good enough for me. I demand euphoria, Bill Watterson. The wealth of a rich man can be stolen or burnt, but the happiness and wisdom of the wise remains. The most important thing is this, to be able at any moment to be free to choose a life that makes you happy, Roy T. Bennett. The best way to cheer someone up is to try to cheer someone else up, Mark Twain. The secret of happiness, find something more important than you are and dedicate your life to it, Daniel C. Dennett. The idea of perpetual happiness is crazy and overrated, because those dark moments fuel you for the next bright moments, each one helps you appreciate the other, Brad Pitt. The art of living does not consist in persevering and clinging to a particular mode of happiness, but in allowing happiness to change its form without being disappointed by the change. Happiness, like a child, must be allowed to grow up, Charles L. Morgan. The secret to happiness is to never make it dependent on that which can be taken away. Yasmin Mogahed. Happiness quotes at personaldevelopfit.com/quotes-about-happiness 4. The measure of success is happiness and peace of mind. Bobby Perot. The greatest gift you can ever give another person is your own happiness. Esther Hicks. The purpose of life is not to be happy. It is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, to have it make some difference that you have lived and lived well. Ralph Waldo Emerson. The pursuit of happiness is internal. Akia Watts. The primary cause of unhappiness is never the situation, but your thoughts about it. Be aware of the thoughts you are thinking. Eckhart Tolle. The less you care about what others think, the happier you'll be. The secret of happiness is not in doing what one likes, but in liking what one does. James Matthew Barrie. The foolish man seeks happiness in the distance. The wise grows it under his feet. James Oppenheim. The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. Marcus Aurelius. The happiness you feel is in the direct proportion to the love you give. Oprah Winfrey. The greatest part of our happiness or misery depends upon our dispositions, and not upon our circumstances. Martha Washington. The best feeling of happiness is when you're happy because you made somebody else happy. The summit of happiness is reached when a person is ready to be what he is. Desiderius Erasmus. The way I define happiness is being the creator of your experience, choosing to take pleasure in what you have right now, regardless of the circumstances, while being the best you that you can be. Leo Babauta. The aggregate happiness of the society, which is best promoted by the practice of virtuous policy, is or ought to be, the end of all government. George Washington. The secret of happiness is not found in seeking more, but in developing the capacity to enjoy less. Socrates. The secret of happiness is to see all the marvels of the world and never to forget the drops of oil on the spoon. Paulo Coelho. The business of being happy requires making a conscious choice. People think being happy will just happen to them someday, if they do this or that right. But it doesn't. You have to choose it. You choose happiness, you don't wait for it to choose you. Bethany Frankel. The first ingredient for happiness is to avoid too much lengthy meditation on the past. Andre Morois. The supreme happiness of life is the conviction that we are loved, love for ourselves, say rather, loved in spite of ourselves. Victor Hugo. The noblest art is that of making others happy. P.T. Barnum. The most important thing is to enjoy your life. To be happy. It's all that matters. Audrey Hepburn. The secret to happiness is freedom and the secret to freedom is courage. Thucydides. The key to being happy is knowing you have the power to choose what to accept and what to let go. Dodinsky. The quickest way to happiness, learning to be selfless. Ask more questions, talk about yourself less. Macklemore. The only thing that will make you happy is being happy with who you are and not who people think you are. Goldie Hawn. The groundwork for all happiness is health. Lee Hunt. The best revenge is happiness, because nothing drives people more crazy than seeing someone actually living a good life. The purpose of life is the expansion of happiness. Deepak Chopra. The key to happiness is letting each situation be what it is instead of what you think it should be. Mandy Hale. The word happiness would lose its meaning if it were not balanced by sadness. Carl Gustav Jung. The belief that unhappiness is selfless and happiness is selfish is misguided. It's more selfless to act happy. It takes energy, generosity, and discipline to be unfailingly light-hearted, yet everyone takes the happy person for granted. No one is careful of his feelings or tries to keep his spirits high. He seems self-sufficient and becomes a cushion for others. And because happiness seems unforced, that person usually gets no credit. Gretchen Rubin. The only way to find true happiness is to risk being completely cut open. Chuck Palahniuk. The formula of happiness and success is just, being actually yourself, in the most vivid possible way you can. Meryl Streep. The face of a truly happy man seldom lacks smiles. Agwo David Emanuck. The happiest man is he who learns from nature the lesson of worship. Ralph Waldo Emerson. The secret of happiness is love, and the secret of love is non-judgmental care. Debsi Shmridha. The key to ultimate happiness and fulfillment lies within our own transformation. The more we learn and grow and evolve as individuals, the more we will find happiness and satisfaction in relationships, work, and life. Christy Bowman. The secret to a happy life is respect. Respect for yourself and respect for others. Ayad Akader. The crowning fortune of a man is to be born to some pursuit which finds him employment and happiness, whether it be to make baskets, or broadswords, or canals, or statues or songs. Ralph Waldo Emerson. The only means by which one could attain complete happiness is to avoid living in constant expectation of it. It's the expectation that causes our unhappiness and consequent bitterness about life. Muhammad Masihu Ali. The secret to happiness is the journey, not the destination. Claire Chilton. The value of a moment is immeasurable. The power of just one moment can propel you to success and happiness or chain you to failure and misery. Steve Marbola. The grand essentials to happiness in this life are something to do, something to love, and something to hope for. George Washington Burnup. The best way to pay for a lovely moment is to enjoy it. Richard Bach. The man is happiest who lives from day to day and asks no more, garnering the simple goodness of life. Euripides. The really happy person is the one who can enjoy the scenery even when they have to take a detour. Sir James Jeans. The search for happiness is one of the chief sources of unhappiness. Eric Hoffer. The thing everyone should realize is that the key to happiness is being happy for yourself and yourself. Ellen DeGeneres. The decision is mine and I choose happiness. Mallory Howell. The U.S. Constitution doesn't guarantee happiness, only the pursuit of it. You have to catch up with it yourself. Benjamin Franklin. The ways of happiness and meaning are not the same. To find happiness, a man need only live in the moment. He need only live for the moment. But if we wants meaning, the meaning of his dreams, his secrets, his life, a man must inhabit his past, however dark, and live for the future, however uncertain. Thus nature dangles happiness and meaning before us all, insisting only that we choose between them. Jed Rubenfeld. The happiness of love is in action, its test is what one is willing to do for others. Lew Wallace. The secret of happiness is something to do. John Burroughs. The greatest happiness is when the eye discovers beauty where neither the mind conceived of nor the hand intended any. Orhan Pamuk. The essence of philosophy is that a man should so live that his happiness shall depend as little as possible on external things. Epictetus. There is no greater power than that of a laugh, and happiness is a force which can save a person from the horrors of the world. Hilary Depiano. There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will. Epictetus. There is no cosmetic for beauty like happiness. Maria Mitchell. There is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. Buddha. There are two ways to be happy. Improve your reality or lower your expectations. Jodi Picoult. There is sunshine in my soul today. There is only one happiness is life, to love and be loved. George Sand. There are many styles of beauty as there are visions of happiness. Stendhal. There is no happiness like that of being loved by your fellow creatures, and feeling that your presence is an addition to their comfort. Charlotte Bronte. There is no such thing as a perfectly happy or perfectly unhappy man in the world. One has more happiness in his life and another more unhappiness, and the same circumstance may produce widely different effects on individuals of different temperaments. Giacomo Casanova. They think I am simple-minded because I seem to be happy. Why shouldn't I be happy? I have everything I ever wanted and more. Maybe I am simple-minded. Maybe that's the key. Simple. Dolly Parton. The key to happiness, or that even that more desired thing, calmness, lies not in always thinking happy thoughts. No. That is impossible. No mind on earth with any kind of intelligence could spend a lifetime enjoying only happy thoughts. The key is in accepting your thoughts, all of them, even the bad ones. Accept thoughts, but don't become them, Matt Haig. Think happy thoughts and they will shine from your face like sunbeams, Roald Dahl. This world never allows for perfect circumstances. Those who wait to find happiness in them never will. Joshua Becker. This is your life. Take the power to choose what you want to do and do it well. Take the power to love what you want in life and love it honestly. Take the power to walk in the forest and be part of nature. Take the power to control your own life. No one else can do it for you. Take the power to make your life happy, Susan Polis Schutz. Those who move forward with a happy spirit will find that things will always work out, Gordon B. Hunkley. Those who are not looking for happiness are the most likely to find it, because those who are searching forget that the surest way to be happy is to seek happiness for others, Martin Luther King. Those who are happiest are those who do the most for others, Booker T. Washington. Those only are happy, I thought, who have their minds fixed on some object others than their own happiness, on the happiness of others, on the improvement of mankind, even on some art of pursuit, followed not as a means, but as itself an ideal end, John Stuart Mill. Thousands of candles can be lighted from a single candle, and the life of the candle will not be shortened. Happiness never decreases by being shared, Buddha. Time you enjoy wasting is not wasting time. To be a happy person, one has to drop all comparison. Drop all these stupid ideas of being superior and inferior. You are neither superior nor inferior. You are simply yourself. There exists no one like you, no one with whom you can be compared. Then, suddenly you are home, Osho. To live long and achieve happiness, cultivate the art of radiating happiness, Malcolm Forbes. To be happy, love must mean more to you than anything, Robert Holden. To be happy you must have taken the measure of your powers, tasted the fruits of your passion, and learned your place in the world, George Santayana. To be stupid, selfish, and have good health are 3 requirements for happiness, though if stupidity is lacking, all is lost, Gustave Flaubert. To be happy, one must find one's bliss, Gloria Vanderbilt. To me, the meaning of a human life is to be happy. It's to achieve happiness right now, it's to make sure you're happy in the future, Dan Howell. To like people spontaneously and without effort is perhaps the greatest of all sources of personal happiness. Bertrand Russell. To be happy you have to risk being unhappy, Agwo David Emanuck. To be stupid and selfish and to have good health are the 3 requirements for happiness, though if stupidity is lacking, the others are useful, Julian Barnes. True happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future, Lucius Annius Seneca. True happiness comes from the joy of deeds well done, the zest of creating things new, Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. True happiness is when the love that is within us finds expression in external activities, Mata Amritnandami. True happiness comes from the effort of making other happy. Give and share your love every day, Tina Razaria. True happiness comes from within yourself, not from someone else. Stop searching, start living. True happiness is not found in any other reward than that of being united with God. If I seek some other's reward besides God himself, I may get my reward but I cannot be happy, Thomas Merton. True happiness, we are told, consists in getting out of one's self, but the point is not only to get out, you must stay out, and to stay out you must have some absorbing errand, Henry James. 2 things prevent us from happiness: living in the past and observing others. Ultimately, happiness comes down to choosing between the discomfort of becoming aware of your mental afflictions and the discomfort of being ruled by them, Yanji Minjai Urinpaka. Unhappiness is bondage, therefore, happiness is freedom, Lauren Oliver. Until you are happy with who you are, you will never be happy with what you have, Zig Ziglar. Ups and downs, victories and defeats. Sadness and happiness. That's the best kind of life, Maxime Lagache. Very little is needed to make a happy life, it is all within yourself, in your way of thinking, Marcus Aurelius. Virtue is not an end in itself. Virtue is not its own reward or sacrificial fodder for the reward of evil. Life is the reward of virtue and happiness is the goal and the reward or life, Ayn Rand. Waiting for someone else to make you happy is the best way to be sad. We tend to forget that happiness doesn't come as a result of getting something we don't have, but rather of recognizing and appreciating what we do have, Friedrich Koenig. We have no more right to consume happiness without producing it than to consume wealth without producing it, George Bernard Shaw. We often fully sense and relish the radiance of happiness only after it is escaped through the backstage door, stealthily and silently, Eric Pavirnagia. We are all happy if we but knew it, F. Dostoevsky. We are more interested in making others believe we are happy than in trying to be happy ourselves, François de la Rochefoucauld. We don't even ask happiness, just a little less pain, Charles Bukowski. What can I do with my happiness? How can I keep it, conceal it, bury it where I may never lose it? I want to kneel as it falls over me like rain, gather it up with lace and silk and press it over myself again, Anais Nin. Whatever you decide to do, make sure it makes you happy. When you're happy, you enjoy the music. When you're sad, you understand the lyrics. When I was 5 years old, my mother always told me that happiness was the key to life. When I went to school, they asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wrote down happy. They told me I didn't understand the assignment and I told them they didn't understand life, John Lennon. When you let go of control and commit yourself to happiness, it is so easy to offer compassion and forgiveness, Shannon L. Alder. When one door of happiness closes, another opens. But often we look so long at the closed door that we do not see the one which has opened for us, Helen Keller. When you love what you have everything you need. When you focus on the good gets better. When we fulfill our function, which is to truly love ourselves and share love with others, then true happiness sets in, Gabrielle Bernstein. When you look at your life, the greatest happiness are family happinesses, Dr. Joyce Brothers. When the first baby laughed for the first time, its laugh broke into 1,000 pieces and they all went skipping about and that was the beginning of fairies, J.M. Barrie. When we are collecting books, we are collecting happiness, Vincent Starrett. Whoever is happy will make others happy too, Anna Frank. Why should we build our happiness on the opinions of others, when we can find it in our own hearts, Jean-Jacques Rousseau? Why not seize the pleasure at once? How often is happiness destroyed by preparation, foolish preparation, Jane Austen. Wish. Each time I meet someone I will silently wish them happiness, joy and laughter. Deepak Chopra. With all its sham, drudgery and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be cheerful, strive to be happy, Max Ehrmann. With mirth or laughter, let old wrinkles come, William Shakespeare. You must be the best judge of your own happiness, Jane Austen. You are responsible for your own happiness. You will never make people happier than by being a happy person yourself, Brant McGill. You cannot protect yourself from sadness without protecting yourself from happiness, Jonathan Safran Foet. You can only have bliss if you don't chase it, Hanapala Gunaratana. You will never be happy if you continue to search for what happiness consists of. You will never life if you are looking for the meaning of life, Albert Camus. You are beautiful. Your beauty, just like your capacity for life, happiness, and success is immeasurable, Steve Maraboli. You can go around the world and go to all the beautiful places, but never be happy, because happiness is something you bring inside of you, it is not where you are or what you are looking at, but it is how you are and how you look at, see. Joy Bell C. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to live a life you are excited about. Don't let others make you forget that. You have everything you need for complete peace and total happiness right now, Wayne Dyer. You can be right or you can be happy, Gerald G. Jampolsky. You have to be willing to get happy about nothing, Andy Warhol. You can't change how people feel about you, so don't try. Just live your life and be happy. You can't buy happiness, Kurt Cobain. You are not responsible for other people's happiness and they are not responsible for yours, Bryant McGill. You are in charge of your own happiness. You don't need to wait for other people's permission to be happy, Roy T. Bennett. You are happy when you are enthusiastic and action-oriented, not when you are luxury and pleasure-oriented, Debsi Shmridha. You must forget that greatness does not guarantee happiness but goodness always does, Sri Chinmoy. You cannot be with someone just because you don't want to hurt him. You have your own happiness to think about, Melissa de la Cruz. You can be happy with money and you can be wretched with it. It depends on what kind of person you are, Taylor Caldwell. You can't be happy unless you are unhappy sometimes, Lauren Oliver. You don't have to be happy to smile, Daniel Willey. You can enjoy a deep sense of satisfaction and happiness in life despite challenging circumstances. It's all in how you think about it, Christy Bowman. You have to participate relentlessly in the manifestation of your own blessings, Elizabeth Gilbert. Your success and happiness lie in you, Helen Keller. Your success and happiness lies in you. Resolve to keep happy, and your joy and you shall form an invincible host against difficulties, Helen Keller. Your success and happiness are given to you only if you generously consent to share them. But to be happy, it is essential not to be too concerned with others. Consequently, there is no escape. Happy and judged, or absolved, and wretched, Albert Camus. Your happiness shouldn't depend on the situation you're in nor on the circumstances that surround you, c. Joy Bell C. Chapter 3. Money and Happiness. The need for money operates by the law of diminishing returns. Getting more money to go from poverty to middle class will greatly increase your happiness, but getting more money to get you from middle class to upper class will reach a critical point where money cannot make you happier. Beyond basic comfort, there are other things beyond money you need in order to be happy, like the pursuit of inspiration and transcendence and getting some love in your life. Despite these facts, a lot of people knock themselves out trying to get more money than they'll ever need. It won't make you happier. You might think it will, but it won't. Think of drinking cocktails, eating ice cream cones, or owning cars. The first one is great, the second is good, the third is alright, but after that, your increase in happiness level with each succeeding one goes down until it reaches zero. There are only so many consumer needs you can buy. Once you buy everything you want, you need to look elsewhere for happiness. And remember, you can't buy people, true love, or friendship. You can buy fair weather friends and lovers very easily, but when your money runs out, they're gone. Life is a balancing act. Prosperity knits a man to the world. He thinks he's finding his place in it, while really it is finding its place in him. C.S. Lewis. Obsession with money is hell. Living in an artistic dream world away from capitalist reality is also hell, so do yourself a favor. Read my books in order to help you get some control of your life, because I was once a bumbling idiot thinking I was living a cool life, probably like you are now, but I had to learn to educate myself to deal with my life, so I went off and pursued this as part of my artistic vision, that knowledge is power, but only if it's real. Before then, I lived the hippie, free-spirited lifestyle for a while and realized it didn't work if I had to constantly worry about money, so the solution is to be grounded in reality before you go off pursuing fanciful flights of your artistic visions, but don't be a desperado about it, sacrificing everything for the pursuit of money. Money is the only thing that talks in a capitalist world. Ideals are useless if you can barely get enough money together to eat. Don't be a simpleton and renounce the real world for your ideals, and don't be hypocrite and sell your soul for money. Take a middle ground approach where you keep your soul intact and earn some money to live in the real world without having to be a starving artist and end up like Van Gogh, stabbing himself because he was so poor, he got down on himself and all of a sudden, his 900 or so paintings couldn't help him keep living because he didn't even have the basics of material security covered and felt like a scumbag leeching off his brother Theo, who had a family to support. Use money as a means to improve your quality of life and give you the opportunities to do what you really want to do with your life, but don't become its slave, sacrificing all your time to work for it just to live some illusory lifestyle you don't really need. Live a balanced life. Don't let the pursuit of money and material things for their own sake take away from the inspired, sensual, loving pursuit that your life should really be about. Some people say they only figure out the true meaning of life when something happens that money can't help, like a terminal disease, or when they lose it all and are left with only themselves, the pure person looking back at them in the mirror without all the accoutrements of the money. Books about the spiritual aspects of money are at #291.56 or BL65. Money to fill an empty soul. Money cannot buy inner peace, inspiration, health, happiness, or love. People will do anything for money, even demean themselves greatly. The religion of modern-day capitalist society is material things, not just functional material things one needs to sustain himself through life, even if it is top of the line. I believe people who earn lots of money are entitled to buy the best things that they need to get through life if they can afford it and want to spend the money. If you need a car and you can afford the best, why not? My problem with the culture I live in is twofold. People sacrifice the free exploration and the free living of their lives there for the natural development of their spiritual aesthetic selves in order to work a job to earn money to buy things they don't really need, but they're doing it because they have been brainwashed by the capitalist ideology. There is a pop culture cool and status standard implicitly thrust on us by corporate forces that try to get us all hooked on trying to be cool, pop culture clones and yuppies as advanced by TV commercials, TV shows, movies, etc., trying to be important by achieving a certain level of career and materialistic success which a lot of people buy into, thus destroying the free pursuit of their lives. A wise person is smart enough to strive to earn enough money to sustain himself and strive to save enough for his or her future security, but you cross the line when buy things you don't really need because it either gives you a temporary psychological lift, the "I have arrived, I'm successful" syndrome, makes you feel like you belong to the elite group of humanity, or fills up an otherwise empty soul that doesn't realize the key to happiness is to live by your own inspiration. So what you have done when you live like this is that you have sold your soul on an unconscious level to live by the capitalist world you're surrounded by. There are several types of money addictions. The person who thinks that buying things will make him or her feel good, make them feel important, make them feel superior to others, make them feel some emptiness they feel way down deep. They often live on credit, spending more than they have. Some are thieves/shoplifters/kleptomaniacs who like the thrill of getting something for nothing, even if it's a useless trinket they have no use for. The guy or girl who measure their value as individuals and the value of others by their material worth. Money is their scorecard of life. They become obsessed with constantly earning more and measure everybody else in a silent competition they have with the world as to who has the most money and stuff, the bigger house, better car, etc. They're usually workaholics, stock market traders, and the types always scheming about how to make more money. The person who thinks that money will solve all their problems, so they play the lotteries and dream big about a big score that will change their lives, which won't happen to 98% of them, and even if they win all that money, they will still be the same generic, uninspired duds they are now. The miser who ties his worth to his stash. He probably works hard but is very thrifty because he's chronically insecure and has some guilt complex from somewhere about spending money uselessly. This person is obsessed with saving money and being frugal to the point of absurdity. The easiest way to spot a money addict is to see someone who has no real connection to who they are as individuals in the spiritual sense. They might be fashionable, have a nice car, be a great worker, but they don't know what their true essence is as a human being and don't do anything to stay close to the center, which should be to use up the natural energy inside to stay naturally inspired about their lives. The classic mental illness of money is to get caught in the trap of constantly needing more money and consumer goods in order to feel good about yourself, because the other parts of your life, which are what's really important in living a good life, natural inspiration, sensual pleasure, romantic love, love of your family, are sorely lacking, so you acquire money and spend thinking it will fill you up somehow, since that's what the images on TV say, that if you make money and buy a lot of things with it, you will be happy, but it's a superficial existence. If you're a superficial person, it might give you that superficial kind of happiness I sometimes see with low-level people who are doing nothing with their lives anyway, so when they get a windfall like winning the lottery, they will go out and buy useless things and think they're happy, but they have never felt the rush of a spiritually inspired moment in their lives and never will, so ultimately they're losers regardless of all the crap they fill their homes up with. This line of thinking can move into anxiety and obsession, much like an obsessive-compulsive person or a kleptomaniac, someone who feels they must steal things. When you cross the line from trying to live a fun, interesting life to the pursuit of money and material things for their own sake, you have just lost the spirit of what your life was created for and are doomed to live a life of neurosis, never being satisfied because you will always be thinking you need more money and things to be truly happy. Acquiring material things by going out shopping is the drug, and people get hooked on it to get the rush of going to the mall, looking at a bunch of new-looking, prettily packaged material goods, getting all excited, buying something which makes them feel good for a few minutes, then in about an hour, the thrill is gone because the entire obsession is not based on something substantial from the soul. These people are addicted to this ritual until and unless they reach a point that they know material things will never make them happy, so they can get rid of most of the stuff except for the functional things and focus on the other more spiritual and sensual aspects of their lives. Just like some people use money and material things as the scorecard for their happiness, there are another group of neurotic people who have the exact opposite problem. They're obsessed with being bargain hunters, penny pinchers, clipping coupons, looking for discounts, saving what they can by driving all over the city to get the sales based on the ads in the newspaper. When you spend more time looking for sales than what the sales are worth based on the amount of time taken in the pursuit, you're just another neurotic person with another type of wasteful mental illness. Another mental illness associated with the love of money is status and power. A lot of people not stable as individuals within themselves might work their butts off at something and essentially destroy whatever pure love or inspiration for life they might have in their souls to be materialistic show-offs, to go around wearing the trendiest clothes, the expensive watches, drive a nice car, get a house in the right neighborhood, all to try to show others how successful and great they are. But the thing is, when you live like this, the only one you're fooling is you, because all these things are frivolous and superficial. They don't penetrate into the core of life, which is to live by whatever inspiration you might feel in your soul, but all this stuff is disposable stuff that doesn't go anywhere near there. Granted, we all have egos to some extent, especially if we live in a capitalist culture where we're brainwashed to try to look like successful yuppies in TV commercials. To aspire to a comfortable lifestyle with some disposable income is fine, but if it gets to the point where you're doing it to try to fill up an otherwise empty life or to try to impress others, you're missing the point of life and destroying yours. A lot of lost souls aren't even wealthy but have good credit ratings, so they use their credit to give themselves the illusion of yuppie grandeur while putting themselves in deep debt and neglecting the true purpose of life, which is to explore your life to feel the person you feel you should be in your soul. Somebody said the more we're concerned with money and the accumulation of material things, the more we lose our natural sex drives. This is probably because of the energy and stress it takes out of us. The sex drive is probably your highest source of pleasure in life. If you replace it with an anxiety about money and things, you have lost the game. Heal by realizing that money and material things are necessary to sustain your life, but everything else is frivolous delusion that only detracts from the true purpose of life, which is to be a whole human being by releasing the energy you feel in your soul. Acquiring a lot of material things you don't need and striving to acquire more money than you will ever need is a waste, both materially because it's a violation of the human spirit for one to hoard all he can which he will never use while others nearby are in such great need. Spiritually because all this stuff takes away from living a freely inspired life true to who you are in your soul. Action in living your life is what really matters, not material things and money just for show. My life karma. Happiness resides not in possessions and not in gold. The feeling of happiness dwells in the soul. Democritus. No one cares how you got rich as long as you're rich so they can get a piece of it one way or another. Don't let your possessions possess you. I never go shopping for recreation's sake. When I need something, I go to the exact store, buy it and leave. But recently I was driving someone around as a favor because she wanted to buy vinyl tiles for her kitchen floor. I thought it would take an hour at the most, but when all was said and done, it took over 3.5 hours and 6 stores. She wasn't satisfied with what they had at any store, so we kept going to different stores until I couldn't take it anymore, took her to the last store, didn't go in with her, then didn't say a word to her on the way back. I was so mad that she wasted 3 hours of my life because she couldn't pick out which style of tile to pick out, when to me it's like, who cares? A tile is a tile. I should be thankful to have tiles, not a dirt floor, without going through hundreds of samples to pick one out. And while I was at these home improvement and flooring stores, I saw all these other people around buying junk they don't need. I know why our societies are screwed. Everybody's so brainwashed into looking for happiness through meaningless material goods. The main idea behind excessive materialism, which is buying things beyond needs, is that you have an empty soul. You're buying to fill an emotional void, to make you feel good for a minute or two. There's something missing in your life whereby you're not living an inspired lifestyle that keeps you happy within yourself or you don't feel loved enough. So one of the ways you fill up this emptiness is to buy useless crap, because it helps give you a momentary, transient tingle, but ultimately does not solve the problem of the empty soul. There is also the status trap, which is essentially the more money you make, the more you spend. This is why you can live on almost nothing as a poor student, but then 5 years later, when you're making $100,000 a year, you're still struggling financially because you have bought a lot of things you don't need and live an expensive standard of living. The solution is simple. Always live below your means. Just because you make more money, don't necessarily buy a bigger house, a bigger car, or more useless things. Don't have more kids than you afford.